Nepal's Election Commission to use Nepal-made materials for the March 5 elections, 1,246 polling stations of Madhesh categorized as highly sensitive. Nepal's Health Ministry issues warning over Nipah virus amid outbreak concerns in neighboring India, also strengthens surveillance. Gold and silver prices hit record high in Nepal as global and domestic demand push precious metals up. EU says Russian strikes pushing Ukraine towards a humanitarian catastrophe, warns winter conditions and infrastructure damage to deepen civilian hardship. China executes 11 members of a notorious mafia family running scam centers in Myanmar, also alleged of committing homicide, fraud. And 5 English clubs finish in the top 8 of the Champions League in a dramatic final night. Hello there, I'm Smitugi Singh Thamang and this is NTV World Primetime News coming to you live from Kathmandu at 1900 hours Nepal time. Across the globe, it's 1:15 p.m. in London, 10:15 p.m. in Tokyo and just after midnight in Sydney. The news in detail. The Election Commission has adopted a policy of using locally produced materials as much as possible for the upcoming election to the House of Representatives slated for coming March 5. To make the election economical, transparent and to use and encourage local products, the Commission has adopted a policy of using locally produced materials as much as possible. Commission spokesperson Narayan Prasad Bhattrai said a total of 51 materials will be used for the election and currently 37 types of materials are being procured from the provinces and districts in a decentralized manner. Among them, 14 types of materials are being procured from the central level and the responsibility for most of the purchases has been given to Salt Trading Company. He said that only new materials worth 67.5 million rupees have been procured for the election and other materials have been reused. 1,246 polling stations out of a total 2,160 in Nepal's Madhesh province for the upcoming House of Representatives election have been categorized as highly sensitive. According to the Madhesh Province Police Office, most polling stations close to the Indian border have been classified as highly sensitive. Kamal Thapa, spokesperson of the Madhesh Province Police Office, stated that work is underway as per plan regarding monitoring and security measures at these polling stations. It has been informed that out of the 32 constituencies for the House of Representatives election in Madhesh Province, 755 polling stations are sensitive and 159 polling stations are normal. There are a total of 4,471 polling centers in Madhesh Province. There are 1,028 candidates from various political parties as well as independents. The number of voters in Madhesh Province is 3,517,123. Among them, the number of men is 1,905,819 and the number of women is 1,611,304. Nepal's Ministry of Health and Population has issued a caution over the risk of the Nipah virus, warning that although no cases have been detected in Nepal so far, the threat remains high. Ministry spokesperson Dr. Prakash Burathoki said surveillance has been intensified at airports, border checkpoints and health institutions, and instructions have been issued to test samples from travelers showing suspicious symptoms. Dr. Sher Bahadur Pun said the Nipah virus originates in bats and can spread to humans through animals such as pigs and cattle, as well as through direct contact with the blood of urine of infected individuals. Symptoms include fever, headache, dizziness, and breathing difficulties. The World Health Organization has warned that the fatality rate can range from 40 to 70% if timely treatment is not provided. Authorities said heightened vigilance is necessary due to Nepal's proximity to affected areas in neighboring India, despite the absence of confirmed cases in the country. Nepal is facing a growing exodus of medical professionals as poor licensing exam outcomes, low pay and limited career prospects push to seek opportunities abroad. New data from the Nepal Medical Council show a sharp rise in foreign certification requests, with more than 2,600 doctors obtaining good standing certificates in the last fiscal year alone. Health experts warn the trade could strain Nepal's already fragile public healthcare system. Sabika Shrestha brings an in-depth coverage in it.
Brain drain has found a new form in Nepal, with medical personnel, especially doctors and nurses, flying abroad for employment. Fresh data released by Nepal Medical Council (NMC) indicates a sharp rise in the outmigration of Nepali medical professionals, particularly doctors and nurses. Experts say disappointing licensing examination results and long-standing workplace challenges continue to pose health workers. The concern follows the publication of results from the 74th NMC licensing examination, where only 39.45% of candidates passed the computer-based test for MBBS and BDS registration. Of the 943 candidates who took the examination, just 372 succeeded. The MBBS stream recorded a pass rate of 38.7%, while 42.85% of dental candidates cleared the exam.
यहाँभन्दा बढी सेवा सुविधा र यहाँभन्दा बढी सामाजिक सुरक्षा पाइसकेपछि चिकित्सक मात्रै होइन सबै चाहिँ भन्नाले त्यसैको बना खोजीमा बाहिर जान्छ। त्यसै क्रममा चिकित्सकहरू पनि गइरहनु भएको छ। तर त्यसमा जो भर्खर ग्रेजुएट हुनुभएको हुन्छ, ग्रेजुएट भएको लगभग 5-7 वर्षमा म्याक्सिमम चाहिँ भन्नाले विदेश जाने, विदेश पलायन हुने वा चाहिँ भन्नाले माइग्रेसन हुने सम्भावना चाहिँ बढी छ।
But the overall results have nonetheless intensified debate over the quality of medical education and the future prospects of young health professionals in Nepal. Alongside licensing challenges, Nepal Medical Council data on the issuance of certificates of good standing, a mandatory document for foreign employment, higher education, or professional training, clearly shows a steady increase in the migration of medical professionals. Over the past 6 fiscal years, the number of certificates issued has more than doubled, rising from 1,087 in 2020 to a record of 2,681 in 2025. Council officials estimate that more than 70% of certificate holders eventually move abroad on a long-term basis.
People who are graduated in medicine or nursing or even the health professionals, they have very little opportunity to provide services in the country. That's why to source the opportunity, this is a very usual thing to look for the further development of their own career, for the further study and get the job international also. That's why the service is required very much in Nepal. The people are not getting service. The production of the human resources are almost enough to provide the services. So the government sectors, non-government sectors and other sectors also, they have to create the post to provide services.
According to the NMC records, the United Kingdom remains the leading destination for Nepali doctors, while more than 500 certificates issued for the UK in recent years. The United States has also seen a sharp surge, peaking at 843 certificates in 2023. Health sector officials say the trend reflects deep-rooted dissatisfaction within the domestic healthcare system. Young doctors echo similar concerns, citing low pay, delayed salaries and lack of workplace security.
हामीले रात दिन अहोरात्र खटेर हामीले बिरामीको सेवाहरू गर्छौं। अब त्यही अनुसारको हामीलाई प्रोत्साहन स्वरूप दिएको पारिश्रमिकहरूले चाहिँ हाम्रो जीविकोपार्जन नै गर्दैन। अब फीकै कुरा गर्ने हो भने एमबीबीएस मा 40 देखि 45 लाख खर्च गरेर हामी पढ्न आउँछौं। अब 5.5 वर्ष खर्च हाम्रो लाइफको खर्च गरिसकेपछि हामीलाई दिने पारिश्रमिक भनेको अब केउकै कुरा गर्ने हो भने 10 देखि 12 हजार छ। अब त्यो स्यालेरीले हाम्रो जीवनको जीविकोपार्जन नै गर्न सक्दैन। अब उमेर अनुसार आउने हाम्रो पारिवारिक जिम्मेवारी पनि हुन्छ। अब त्यस कारणले गर्दा कस्तो अवस्था आइसकेको छ भने चाहिँ हाम्रो मानसिक स्वास्थ्यमै असर पर्छ कि जस्तो पनि कुरा आइसकेको अवस्था चाहिँ त्यस्तो छ।
The continued outflow of trained doctors and nurses poses serious long-term risk to Nepal's public health system, particularly in public hospitals and rural areas. Sabika Shrestha with camera person Samir Thapa reporting for NTV World.
To know more about what's causing the exodus of Nepal's medical professionals in recent years and to have more on this issue, we are joined by Dr. Satish Kumar Dev, spokesperson of the Nepal Medical Council. Dr. Dev, can you hear me?
Yes, good evening.
Welcome to NTV World Primetime News.
Thank you, ma'am.
What is triggering the exodus of medical professionals in recent years?
Obviously, like other professions, low pay, limited career growth, poor working infrastructure, job security are the major reason for migration of the doctors to abroad. And obviously, even the doctors cannot work up to their competency because of the lack of facility. That may be the one factor for it.
And are the licensing exams becoming too tough as suggested by recent pass percentage of less than 40%?
No, ma'am, perfectly no. Uh, See, you have to understand that medical council conduct examination for 3 times in a year. And if you see the data right, we noted that the fresh candidates were less than 40%, and there were 39% of the candidates were appeared for the first and third time. The 9% of the candidates have given for more than 20 times examination. The candidates were more than 60% were from abroad. So what I'm trying to figure out is the standard and the quality of examination is same always, but since the repeaters are increasing day by day, this is causing the increase in the number of percentage of failure. But our examination, if you see, like there are 90% of the examination also pass rate out with the 39%, suggesting that if the fresh candidates are more in that time, the passing rate will be much more higher. But then when there are repeaters much there, this causes decrease in the number of passing rate.
Yes, I was coming to that. Despite this, the number of licensed doctors has increased in the last 5 years. Why is the situation deteriorating then?
Obviously, like everybody wanted to look for their better career abroad, and they are going. But at the same time, the health service is more focused to urban communities. So there is an uneven distribution of the doctors in entire country. That may be one probable cause that the situation is not improved. But we cannot say that situation is deteriorating. Like if you see that there are many eye surgeries and many other things are also done in Nepal only, right? But the distribution of the doctors in the entire nation is unevenly distributed.
So how do you think this will impact Nepal's health sector in the next few years?
See, like in terms of this examination and licensing, if the number keep on increasing because of the cumulative effect, this will have definitely in long term, it will definitely deteriorate the image of the health sector in Nepal. But when we say that there are better opportunities abroad, the doctors will definitely try to go there. So Nepal government to take an appropriate initiative so that the retention of the doctors can be made who are competent enough to these things. What I will say is the examination is showing the mirror of health system in Nepal. This means we are not examination for the candidate like we are taking a competency test, and definitely if these things are not improved, we may the health system, the image of the health system may require may be faded in a longer term.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Dev. That is definitely very helpful insight. And thank you so much for joining with us.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Thank you.
Okay, that was Dr. Satish Kumar Dev, spokesperson of the Nepal Medical Council, with us, who were giving more insight about the great exodus of medical professionals in Nepal in recent years. And now it's time for a short break. We shall be back with more updates. Do stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching NTV World Primetime News. And more from the national front. Gold prices in Nepal climbed to a historic high today, reflecting strong global demand for safe haven assets amid economic uncertainty. The price of gold in the domestic market reached 339,300 rupees per tola, roughly about $2,330 per tola, which is equivalent to 11.66 grams at current exchange rates, setting a record, while silver also hit a new high at 7,505 rupees per 11.66 grams, that is equivalent to 11.66 grams. According to the Federation of Nepal Gold and Silver Dealers Association, hallmark gold was 318,000 rupees per tola and silver was 7,300 rupees per tola on Wednesday, with both metals rising sharply over recent sessions. In international markets, gold is trading around $5,560 per ounce and silver at $120 per ounce, a trend analysts say is influencing domestic prices through increased investor interest in precious metals worldwide. Tiger counting has been commenced from today in the third block of Nepal's Chitwan and Parsa national parks after the counting was completed in 2 blocks. Nepal's Department of National Parks and Wildlife Conservation informed that tigers are being counted in Chitwan Parsa by dividing the area into 3 blocks. The work for installing automatic cameras at various locations for the third block of Chitwan Parsa has progressed, and the camera installation work will continue until Saturday. It is learned after installing the camera, the tiger's movement will be monitored for 15 days and nights. Based on the tiger's activities recorded on the camera, the number of tigers will be determined. Tiger census is conducted every 4 years. Employees of the national park, technicians from the National Trust for Nature Conservation, local volunteers, students and conservation partners are employed to conduct the census. The number of tigers is determined by looking at photographs of the tigers and identifying their unique stripes. According to the tiger census conducted in 2022, there were 355 tigers in Nepal. Among them, 128 tigers were found in Chitwan National Park and 41 in Parsa National Park. The remaining were found in other locations. Nepal's Department of Archaeology has resumed excavation at the West Navalparasi's Panditpur site in Ramgram. Recent findings have unearthed the physical structure of an ancient vihara or monastery, along with a religious pond and stratified brick walls that extend well beyond the previously surveyed geophysical boundaries. According to archaeologist Bhaskar Gewali, these layered structures suggest a sophisticated ancient civilization. Local authorities, including Ramgram Municipality Mayor Dhanapat Yadav, maintain that Panditpur is the historical capital of the Kolia kingdom and the maternal home of Lord Gautam Buddha. This claim is bolstered by the earlier discovery of Kushan-era copper coins and laboratory tests from the UK confirming the dates back to the 6th century BC. To ensure long-term preservation, the municipality, in coordination with the Land Revenue and Survey offices, has begun mapping the area for land acquisition. In a major move towards modernization, the Department of Postal Services has launched the Smart Post initiative to enhance efficiency and transparency. As part of this digital transformation, Postal Service employees in Bhaktapur have undergone specialized training in the new internal tracking system. Subeksha Rajak with our local correspondent Anjir Singh Vishwakarma shed light on the initiative.
The hustle and bustle at the Bhaktapur District Post Office now has a digital heartbeat. As part of a nationwide effort to modernize the postal system, the department has intensified its digital transformation. All employees in the district recently completed intensive training on the internal tracking system known as AITS. This technology allows staff to monitor the movement of mail in real time, shifting from manual ledgers to an integrated digital database. For the employees, the tradition is a game changer, making their daily operations more organized and less prone to error.
हातले लेखेर काम गर्थ्यौं के पहिला अब अहिले चाहिँ जस यो तालिम म्याडमले ल्याएपछि हामी एकदम खुसी भएको छौं
10 वर्ष काम गर्दा पनि हामीले थाहा नपाएको धेरै कुराहरू थाहा पाउने मौका मिलाइदिनु भएको धन्यवाद दिन चाहन्छु
The training saw enthusiast participation from a diverse workforce, ranging from the tech-savvy Gen Z generation to veterans as old as 57. According to Sita Samba, the chief of the district post office, the training focused on online reporting and mobile-based tracking. Postmen known as halkaras and additional postal staff are now equipped to update delivery statuses directly through their smartphones.
पब्लिकको चाहिँ जिज्ञासाहरूलाई चाहिँ सम्बोधन पनि यही पिड्स मार्फतै हुने गरी हाम्रो अहिले चाहिँ आन्तरिक ट्र्याकिङ सिस्टम भन्ने सफ्टवेयर सञ्चालन छ.
The numbers reflect the scale of the operation. The office recently reported the successful handling and delivery of nearly 150,000 items, including registered letters, periodicals, and EMS packages.
नेपाल हुलाकको संयन्त्र संसारसँग जोडिया छ. अहिले हेर्यो भने चाहिँ हामी 71 देशका 92 गन्तव्यमा सिधै जोडिया छौं. त्यहाँसम्म हामी EMS बाट पार्सलबाट विभिन्न रुटबाट जोडिएका छौं. अझै धेरै सबै देशसँग जोडिन पनि चाहेका छौं.
Despite the technological leap, challenges remain. Director General Pangeni noted that a significant shortage of human resource continues to hinder the full-scale rollout. However, with capacity-building programs like the one in Bhaktapur, the department is confident that the era of smart post has officially arrived.
International news coming up next. For now, a short break. The European Union has warned that intensified Russian strikes are pushing Ukraine towards a humanitarian catastrophe as winter conditions and infrastructure damage deepen civilian hardship. EU foreign policy chiefs Kaza Kallas said Moscow's campaign of bombardments appears aimed at forcing Ukrainians into submission as diplomatic efforts to end the conflict continue.
They are bombing Ukrainians, trying to bomb and freeze them to surrender. And that's why we are also discussing the energy support that we can give them because it's very hard winter and Ukrainians are really suffering. There's a humanitarian catastrophe coming there.
Chinese President Xi Jinping met with visiting British Prime Minister Keir Starmer in Beijing, during which the two sides agreed to develop a long-term and stable comprehensive strategic partnership. Starmer arrived in the Chinese capital on Wednesday to begin a 4-day official visit to China, the first by a British Prime Minister in 8 years. Starmer also said the UK is committed to maintaining high-level exchanges with China, enhancing close dialogue and communication, and strengthening cooperation across various fields, including trade, investment, finance, and environmental protection, so as to bolster mutual economic growth and bring benefits to the people of both nations.
And we made some really good progress on tariffs for whisky, on visa-free travel to China, and on information exchange and cooperation on irregular migration, focusing particularly on small boats and engine parts. So a very good constructive meeting with real outcomes, and that's very much in our national interest.
Venezuela's military and police officially pledged their loyalty on Wednesday to interim President Delcy Rodriguez in a ceremony that underscored her effort to consolidate authority following the removal of former President Nicolas Maduro. Defense Minister Vladimir Pedrino declared absolute loyalty and subordination to Rodriguez and presented her with the ceremonial baton and sword of independence hero Simon Bolivar at the Military Academy of the Bolivarian Army in Caracas in front of more than 3,000 troops and security personnel. Rodriguez, who assumed power after Maduro was captured by U.S. forces earlier this month, has faced domestic and international scrutiny as she seeks to balance support from the military, a traditional pillar of Venezuelan governance. U.S. intelligence officials have expressed doubts about her full cooperation with the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, saying there are no current plans for additional use of force and highlighted ongoing diplomatic engagement with Venezuelan leaders. China has executed 11 members of a notorious mafia family that ran scam centers in Myanmar along its northeastern border, state media report. The Ming family members were sentenced in September for various crimes including homicide, illegal detention, fraud and operating gambling dens by a court in China's Zhejiang province. The Mings were one of many clans that ran the town of Lokaing, transforming an impoverished backwater town into a flashy hub of casinos and red light districts. Their scam empire came crashing down in 2023 when they were detained and handed over to China by ethnic militias that had taken control of Lokaing during an escalation in their conflict with Myanmar's army. Time again for a short break. We shall see you back with more from International Front. As the Chinese New Year approaches, cities across China are bustling with festive markets, cultural fairs, and traditional activities, blending heritage with contemporary celebrations to welcome the Year of the Horse. The Chinese New Year, or the Spring Festival, falls on February 17 this year and marks the beginning of the Year of the Horse. Shanghai's Yuyuan Garden Lantern Festival has also been lit, with displays running through the Lantern Festival on March 3. This event features stunning lantern displays inspired by Tang Dynasty horses and integrated with digital technology, offering a seamless blend of traditional craftsmanship and modern artistry. Helicopters from the Spanish Air and Space Forces ASPA patrol conducted an aerial display over Ipanema Beach in Rio de Janeiro on Thursday to mark the 100th anniversary of the 1926 Plus Ultra flight, the first single aircraft crossing of the South Atlantic from Spain to South America. The historic flight, which connected Madrid to Buenos Aires via multiple stopovers, is considered a milestone in early aviation and strengthened ties between Spain and South American nations. The aerial display drew crowds along the beach, with officials describing it as a tribute to Spain's aviation heritage and the pioneering spirit of early pilots. Now the sports update. Five English clubs finished at the top 8 of the Champions League group stage on the final night, highlighting the Premier League's continued strength in Europe. Arsenal, Liverpool, Tottenham Hotspur, Manchester City and Chelsea all secured automatic qualification for the round of 16, avoiding the playoffs. Key results on the final night included Arsenal defeating Caira 3-2, Tottenham beating Eintracht Frankfurt 2-0, Liverpool thrashing Karabakh 6-0, Manchester City winning 2-0 against Galatasaray, and Chelsea edging Napoli 3-2. Paris Saint-Germain drew 1 with Newcastle, with Newcastle's finish in 12th place means they must play in the knockout playoffs facing either Karabakh or Monaco, with the draw scheduled for Friday. The round of 16 draw will determine potential clashes, with questions such as Arsenal versus Dortmund and Liverpool versus Atletico generating interest among the fans. In Turkey's Eastern Kars province, children are receiving professional ski training through the Future Olympic Athletes Project. The training sessions are held at the Sarıkamış Osman Youth Ski Center and are attended by 40 children between the ages of 8 and 15. The daily training program begins with warm-up exercises, followed by slalom gate training on the ski slopes. The children receive 4 hours of training each day under the supervision of professional coaches. Officials state that the project aims to discover talented children at an early age and prepare them for national and international competitions, contributing to the future of Turkish winter sports. And before we wind up, the headlines one more time. Nepal's Election Commission to use Nepal-made materials for the March 5 elections. 1,246 polling stations of Madhesh categorized as highly sensitive. Nepal's Health Ministry issues warning over Nipah virus amid outbreak. Concerns in neighbouring India also strengthen surveillance. Gold and silver prices hit record high in Nepal as global and domestic demand push pressures metals up. EU says Russian strikes pushing Ukraine towards a humanitarian catastrophe, warns winter conditions and infrastructure damage to deepen civilian hardship. China executes 11 members of a notorious mafia family running scam centers in Myanmar, also alleges of committing homicide, fraud, illegal detention and gambling. And 5 English clubs finish at the top 8 of the Champions League in a dramatic final night. That's all for the moment here on NTV World Primetime News. Our next bulletin will be at 2200 Nepal time. Do join us through our social media and get the latest updates from our official website, nepaltelevision.com. I'm Smituki Singh Tamang. Thank you for staying with us. Have a wonderful evening ahead.
Welcome to the studios of NTV World in Kathmandu. Public Service Broadcasting PSB Nepal's new initiative to make Nepal more visible and audible to the global audience. Welcome on board.
This is NTV World, facts that speak, insights that matter.
Telling the stories of a changing planet. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Exploring the heartbeat of Nepali creativity. This is NTV World.
The power of story shaped by technology. NTV World.
Unearthing Nepal's hidden heritage. Discovering the timeless Nepal.
Telling stories that endure across centuries.
Where culture breathes, stories bloom.
When the world moves, we make a sense of it. NTV World.
Taste of Nepal. Every recipe, every flavor tells the story.
Journalism in the digital age. Fast, focused, verified.
Stories hold power. Stories reflecting life. Stories of the hinterlands. Reporting for NTV World.
This is NTV World. Welcome to News Hour.
This is NTV World. Welcome to Primetime News.
One story at a time.
Crossing borders, connecting voices, where Nepal meets the world in dialogue. This is NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Voices that connect Nepal to the world, bringing perspective, region and relevance to every story. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Stand by. Mic is on.
3, 2, 1, cue.
We are NTV World.
Hello and welcome to The Perspective on NTV World. I am Sabika Shrestha, your host for the weekly current affairs program. Here we pick the news of the week, unpack its significance and examine how today's decisions shape tomorrow's direction. This week, our focus is on the upcoming House of Representatives election. As Nepal heads closer to its next House of Representatives election, the political temperature is rising and the battle for parliament is quietly taking shape. Parties are recalibrating strategies in their manifestos. Candidates are busy canvassing voters and asking questions amid internal rifts and questions over representation and governance. This issue featured in most of our bulletins this week on NTV World. On today's episode, we look beyond the campaign slogans to examine what is really at stake in the upcoming House of Representatives election and why this contest could redefine Nepal's political direction in the years ahead. Nepal's Election Commission shortlisted 13 transportation companies to deliver ballot papers and election materials to high hill and mountainous regions. The two selected firms are Saza Courier and Cargo Trans Air International Logistic Private Limited. Although the Commission invited registrations for helicopter services, no firm applied. Additionally, 11 firms have been listed to provide truck and container services. A total of 3,487 candidates have registered their nomination for the first-past-the-post system for March 5 election on a single day slated for nomination. On the same day, a faction of Nepali Congress that was adamant to recognize the special convention filed a writ petition at the Supreme Court demanding postponement of the nomination. Following closure of the proportional representation PR system, candidature focus now shifts to the first-past-the-post system, where major parties have already worked out their nominees. Despite recent split of Nepali Congress and the writ of the Deuva side at the Supreme Court demanding postponement of FPTP nomination date, the intense homework of the parties is almost over. Nepali Congress President Gagan Thapa, meanwhile, has been learned to be engaging with top brass on candidate selection throughout Sunday. Whether Thapa will be able to hold the fort in FPTP nomination will be decided by the Supreme Court, which has interestingly summoned 3 sides without issuing any order that would have affected the election timeline. CPN-UML Secretariat's marathon meeting Sunday almost finalized the candidates for all 165 constituencies. Not surprising that the number of aspirants in UML is high and President KP Oli has been given the responsibility to make the final decision on the candidates. The Rashtriya Swatantra Party RSP has also moved forward with the preparations, calling a central committee meeting where for the first time Balendra Saha took part as senior leader. Nepali Communist Party, meanwhile, has finalized the candidates and coordinator Pushpakamal Dahal is already distributing the tickets one by one. Dahal held consultation with senior leader Madhav Kumar Nepal days ahead, signaling a clear decision to contest without electoral alliances. While the possibility of electoral alliance among major parties for the March 5 elections seems slim, the established parties are unsure whether the alternative forces and their newfound alliance will affect their election strategy. As per the timeline of the Election Commission for March 5 election, candidate nomination has been set for a single day on Tuesday, that is 20th of January. Unlike in the past, one candidate can be nominated in only one constituency out of the 165 this time, making the contest interesting as well decisive. Of the 143 parties registered with the Election Commission, 114 are contesting the polls, with 102 parties competing independently and 12 parties forming 5 alliances under separate election symbols. Irrespective of legacy or change agents, this time the FPTP election is surely to be the contest between the new faces and the old ones. In the election fray time, initially 4 former prime ministers had filed nomination. The withdrawal of Dr. Baburam Bhattarai now makes it 3 former prime ministers on the battlefield. While 3 remain on the battlefield, some heavyweights, including another former Prime Minister Jhalnath Khanal, are missing this time. Bijeta Bhandari followed the political heavyweights during their nomination and canvassing.
As Nepal's election calendar moves into a crucial phase, political heavyweights have reached their constituencies on the eve of the nomination process under the first-past-the-post system. With candidacy registration scheduled for January 20, political activities have intensified across the country as heavyweight leaders make symbolic and strategic appearances on their home ground. In Gorkha, former Prime Minister Dr. Baburam Bhattarai announced his decision to contest from constituency number 2 from the Progressive Democratic Party. Meanwhile, senior leaders of the Rashtriya Swatantra Party are in Janakpur Dham. Speculations are rife on the possible constituency of Balendra Saha, but signs are that the former Kathmandu mayor will contest from Madhya province from the RSP. Party chair Ravi Lamichhane is likely to reach Chitwan for Tuesday's nomination, where former mayor Renu Tahal has already resigned to contest the election from the Nepali Communist Party. Another constituency under spotlight is in Jhapa 5, where CPN-UML chair KP Sharma Oli arrived this afternoon. At the same time, CPN chairperson Pushpa Kamal Tahal has arrived in Rukum East to file his nomination from yet another constituency. As senior leaders head back to their constituencies, the nomination process under the FPTP system marks the formal beginning of what is expected to be a closely watched and high-stakes election season.
Though women make more than 51% of Nepal's population, their representation in policy level has been negligible. Major parties themselves, despite advocating of having ensured 33% women representation in every state mechanism, their behavior while deciding candidates under the first-past-the-post system tells a different story. The nomination process for the upcoming House of Representatives election has once again highlighted Nepal's persistent gender imbalance in the first-past-the-post FPTP electoral system. 3,486 candidates have filed their nomination in 165 electoral constituencies across the country. Of them, only 396 candidates, just 11.34%, are women, while 3,089 candidates, or 88.63%, are men, according to figures shared by the Election Commission. Deputy spokesperson of the Election Commission Kul Bahadur Jisi said the gender gap has widened despite an overall rise in candidacy.
Our actually constitution and our acts and regulations are encouraging women and marginalized people, but in reality, in implementation, that point is actually discouraging. That's why we have to focus women participation and the participation of the marginalized people.
The Constitution of Nepal envisions inclusive political participation, encouraging at least one-third representation of women. However, the current nomination pattern shows that political parties have once again failed to reflect constitutional intent in direct elections, relying instead on the proportional representation system to meet inclusion requirements. While women candidacy faces a serious backlash, there has been a massive surge in youth candidates in the upcoming election. Former Minister and women leader Sita Gurung said the numbers expose the gap between rhetoric and reality.
महिलाहरूलाई आन्दोलनको बेलामा अगाडि बढाउने अनि योगदानको बेलामा चाहिँ तर जब उपलब्धि हासिल हुन्छ त्यस पश्चात चाहिँ महिलाहरू कर्मशः पलायन भइरहेको सहभागिताबाट वञ्चित भइरहेको अवस्था चाहिँ छ। त्यो हिसाबले हेर्दाखेरि महिलाहरू आजसम्म पनि नेता भनेर कुनै दलमा पनि स्थापित हुन सकेको अवस्था छैन र समाजले र हाम्रो यो नेताहरूको मानसिकताले स्वीकार गर्दैन। एउटा चाहिँ सबै दलभित्रको हामीले देखिरहेका छौं।
Echoing similar concerns, RSP leader Tosima Karki says women face layered struggles long before reaching the ballot.
It's very pathetic to see the data, like around only 11% of candidacy, female candidacy for direct election. The females who have been able to give their candidacy for the parliamentary election, I think they've already done 3 steps of revolution. The revolution within the family, and the next revolution is within the party. Because I've seen lots of political parties hardly give women a position in executive roles. They're always usually made to give chance in the sub role, and the third tier is the most important, which is in the society. Irrespective of the political party, wherever you find a able female candidate standing for the election, please do vote for them.
As election campaigning gains momentum, analysts fear without enforceable legal provisions on women's participation in FPTP nominations, gender imbalance will continue to decline in Nepal's electoral landscape.
As election fervor builds across Nepal ahead of the March 5 general polls, Kathmandu, usually the central of political activity, appears unusually subdued, with the absence of familiar political heavyweights leaving the city's streets noticeably quiet. Combined with a shift toward digital campaigning and growing voter frustration over political instability, the calm reflects a changing style of political engagement in the federal capital. Siksha Sarma with Sabina Prajachepang look into the unusually quiet federal capital.
As Nepal gears up for the general elections scheduled for March 5, the election atmosphere is intensifying nationwide. However, Nepal's federal capital, Kathmandu, appears unusually quiet this time. Usually a hub of political activities during elections, Kathmandu's streets and neighborhoods are noticeably calm. One of the main reasons cited is the decision by several influential leaders to change their constituencies and contest elections from districts outside the capital. Notably, Nepali Congress newly elected President Gagan Thapa, who has repeatedly won elections from Kathmandu in the past, had chosen to contest this time from Sarlahi 4 in Madhya province. Similarly, former Kathmandu Mayor Balendra Shah has decided to run from Chhapa 5, where he is set to face CP and UML chairperson KP Sharma Oli. As a result, Kathmandu voters have been deprived of familiar and popular political figures. This shift may have reduced public enthusiasm compared to previous elections.
अहिले चलपलहरु सबै चकमन नै सुनसान जस्तो छ पहिला पहिला आउने घर घर दैलो कार्यक्रम गर्ने अहिले त्यो पनि बन्द छ सबै राजनीतिक यहाँ काठमाडौँको माहौल राम्रो छैन बन्दै छैन नभए पसलमा हात जोडेर नमस्कार हजुर भन्दै आउँथे अहिले त छैन कोही आएको छैन
पहिले जस्तो प्रचार टाँस्ने गर्ने अनि यो जुलुस नारा जुलुसहरु गरेर प्रचार प्रसार गर्ने त्यो चाहिँ अहिले देख्न पाइएको छैन
धेरै चालफल छैन यता त छैन
कोही देख्दैन अहिले भोटहरु माग्न हेरेर चालफल पनि त्यति खासै छैन.
The decline of traditional campaigning methods such as rallies, loudspeaker announcements, and street processions has further contributed to the lack of visible election buzz. Instead, most candidates appear to be relying heavily on social media for outreach. Kathmandu's politically aware voters are also said to be frustrated by ongoing intra-party conflicts and frequent changes in government.
The Election Commission has claimed that this time the election will be techno-savvy to counter emerging challenges of digital media. The introduction of eMonitor Plus, an AI-powered monitoring platform that scans social media and internet sources in real time to identify content that violate election code of conduct, is making the election most techno-savvy in history. Here's a report.
Youth engagement is likely to be a defining feature of this year's House of Representatives election in Nepal. Newly released data from the Election Commission shows a significant rise in youth filing candidacy this time.
According to age group, the 25 to 35 group candidates are 16.73%, 36 to 50 age group are 46.43%, 51 to 65 age group are 31.29%, whereas the candidates crossing 65 years of age are 5.77%. That's why very few people are contesting in the election crossing 65 years of age.
Political awareness among youths is also being reflected in voter registration, with more young people registering to vote as they become increasingly engaged in the civic processes. Digital and social media platforms have played a major role in this shift by enabling rapid, low-cost dissemination of election information and increasing political discussion among citizens. When it comes to youth, the use of digital tools also come alongside. Growing reliance on digital platforms also bring risks, including the rapid spread of misinformation, disinformation, and hate speech ahead of the polls, which can distort public perception and influence election outcomes. To tackle these risks, the Commission is collaborating with UNDP, Nepal Army, Nepal Police and cyber units. The Commission has introduced eMonitor Plus, an AI-powered monitoring platform that scans social media and internet sources in real time to identify content that may violate election code of conduct or spread harmful misinformation and disinformation. Cyber police units and district cyber cells will work with the system to take action against flagged content.
We have launching eMonitor Plus with the help of UNDP, and we have established EIDC, I mean Election Information Dissemination and Coordination Center here. Within this center, one unit is Information Integrity Promotion Unit. They are working rigorously to detect those type of misinformation, disinformation and hate speech. When they detect them, those type of information, they will classify what is its implication. If it is harmful to community and it is based on hate speech and misinformation and disinformation, they forward it to regulatory agency for legal treatment.
The deployment of eMonitor Plus follows similar systems used in other countries to monitor digital campaign narratives and ensure compliance with electoral rules. Even youths are expecting that organized attempts to spread misinformation and disinformation targeting candidates and the election will be largely discouraged.
The voters or the general people also should be well caring about what they are actually publishing in their social media. They are sharing whatever they are getting the information or videos in there. So majorly those particular videos make the information very weak, and that will particularly help to manipulate the voters in this election. So the government, the governmental agencies and basically the election commission should be active enough, and election commission should particularly make a separate mechanism to deal with how the misinformation and disinformation is creating chaos in the election.
Though Nepal still votes on ballot papers, the March 5 election for House of Representatives is certain to be most techno-savvy by far.
In a newfound trend, major parties announced their prime ministerial candidates in advance for the March 5 election. As per constitutional provisions, only the leader of the parliamentary party of the political party can stake claim for the top post, not the central committee decided or secretariat endorsed. Devendra Suvedi analyzes whether the post was strategic or just an effort to embrace the wave of change demanded by the new generation.
Nepali Congress Central Committee's second meeting under new President Gagan Kumar Thapa has unanimously decided to hit the election floor with Thapa himself as the poster boy. Congress is the third party to declare the prime ministerial candidate to match the strategies of the rivals. Rashtriya Swatantra Party (RSP) was the first to decide the prime ministerial candidate in former Kathmandu Mayor Balendra Shah, who joined the party much later than the declaration. CPN UML was not far behind, as its secretariat meeting expectedly decided to project Chair KP Sharma Oli as its prime ministerial candidate. This is an entirely new practice in Nepali politics, something not seen in any of the parliamentary elections since 1990. Constitutionally, the decision of a party instrument on who will be the next prime minister does not matter. As per the provision, leader of the parliamentary party that is formed by the elected lawmakers of the lower and the upper houses of the federal parliament is eligible to become the prime ministerial candidate. If that is the legal provision, why are the parties declaring their prime ministerial candidates one by one? Analysts say it is a move to show that the party is coming to the election with fresh air, a new face to lead the country.
There is a desperation for a generational shift that, look, there's a new face, we have a new person on the one hand. On the other, one of the old parties, okay, this is our candidate. So it's going to be, in that sense, a national competition between and among certain faces. It's also going to affect the national mood to some extent.
While CPN-UML has not been much vocal on championing former Prime Minister Oli as the candidate, RSP and Nepali Congress are very loud and aggressive, most likely because Gagan Papa and Balendra Shah are the new faces who, to a larger extent, reflect the sentiments of recent Gen Z movement in the country. Though there is no meaning of a party instrument declaring a candidate ahead of the election, this has been done to woo the voters by showing that the party has embraced change. Political analyst Bishnu Sapkota says, though Nepali Congress and CPN-UML might not have any issues in their parliamentary parties, different party and parliamentary party leader in the past have evoked ugly confrontation for prime ministerial berth.
When the party goes to the election with somebody as a prime minister, then there will be a definite moral pressure within the party and from the public if the party does not accept that person or does not propose that person formally to be the prime minister when the opportunity comes. So I think we have to look at it in these two ways.
Though there is no guarantee that the parties who have declared their prime ministers in advance will bag majority or get to lead the coalition, but a question arises. What will happen if the announced candidate does not get the favor of the parliamentary party?
When you win the election and if you don't propose the person, the candidate as prime minister, that will be not only misleading, that will be a betrayal to the public.
In the meantime, Election Commission has completed the printing of 15 million ballot papers for the proportional representation electoral system as of last week. Janak Education Material Center, which is printing the PR ballots, has now almost completed the PR ballot paper while making last-minute preparations for the ballot papers under the first-past-the-post system. With voting set for March 5, the House of Representatives election now stand at a critical juncture. As parties make their final moves and voters prepare to decide the country's next political course, the coming weeks will be decisive. We will continue to follow every key development as Nepal heads towards the polls. That's the perspective for this week. Thank you for watching NTV World.
Welcome to NTV World Insight, a space where we explore ideas shaping Nepal's future. On today's episode, it's a pleasure to have with us a remarkable leader whose work sits at the intersection of education, public, health, governance and social transformation. Dr. S.P. Coloni is the chairperson of the Association of International NGOs in Nepal and a lifelong educator and advocate for equitable development. His journey spans classrooms, remote health posts, global partnerships, and some of Nepal's most critical policy debates. Dr. Kaloni, welcome to NTV World Insight.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Good to
Your
be here.
experience and engagement extends through so many sectors. What's keeping you a lot busy these days?
Well, a lot of things. My work at Blink Now Foundation, where we do a lot of education work, providing quality education to the children from the most marginalized communities. My work at AIN, as you said, Association of International NGOs in Nepal, and of course some volunteer work in different non-profit organizations.
You started teaching at a very young age and have since worked in education, health, and civil society leadership sector as well. What would you say is the moment that actually profoundly shaped your philosophy in development?
Yeah, very good question. I wouldn't say a moment. There have been moments and also, I think, different experiences of my life. My most profound impact in my life has been from my father. My dad was a very hardworking person. I never saw him sit idle. And he'd always say, you work hard, you can have a good life, and also you can also support other people. And that, I think, had a profound impact in my life to start working as a working professional early on. But then I also lost my father at early age, and to a disease which we could not get diagnosed. And we didn't have good healthcare system at that point of time. We had to take him to India, but still he did not survive. And so that was a sad experience in my life. But then I encountered so many such situations with other people. But then I also got to learn that the similar situation does not exist in other parts of the world. There are many good healthcare facilities. There's a good quality care for people from the health institution to the households. So I said, why not to see what we can do in Nepal? And so I got into education initially, but in healthcare sector. And thankfully, we got to establish some good model of healthcare system in the country. The health institutions that have provided care to many people, 1.5 million people, a good quality care free of cost in the rural setup. So been blessed with all those outcomes, but at the same time, the shaping of life. I think there are moments in life, but also it's a journey. You get to learn at different stages in your life. So I would name my father as someone who has influenced me the most.
That definitely sounds like something that fueled your passion towards this sector. And you, on your own place, have done as much as you can. But how do we scale this so that we can make a bigger impact? How have you viewed our overall health sector? There's investment from government as well. I'm not sure if it's adequate or not. What's your observation been so far?
It is certainly not adequate, but I think we've made very good progress in health sector in the last couple of decades. Whether you talk about the maternal mortality rate, reducing infant mortality rate, or even the life expectancy overall has increased. But there's a disproportionate impact in the health of more vulnerable people when it comes to the disease or other kind of epidemic and pandemics that we face. So what we still need to work on is how we can make the health system functional. We've got a very good structure in place from the health institutions at the grassroots level in the community, like primary health centers, municipal hospitals, to the tertiary care hospitals. Our problem is how we make them functional, how we resource them, how we equip them, how we regulate them, how we monitor and evaluate, and how we improve the quality of care. So what we have done is not impossible to do. It is doable, and it is as per the vision of Nepal government. Nepal said that we want to reduce the out-of-pocket expenses, we want to improve the quality of care, and we of course want to make it accessible for every citizen, and that's exactly what we did. And it is doable. So scaling needs a willpower, a strong leadership and governance, But of course, we need to increase the resources. Health sector doesn't have enough resource allocated in this country. If you look at the global data, forget about the outlier like the USA. Even if you take the average number, we are nearly 15% below the average public sector investment in health sector, which means that Nepal needs to increase public sector investment. But also we need to work on making the system functional, which also has the managerial aspects, making supply chain work, and also supply of human resources and so on. So if we can make the existing public system really functional, quality, I think people can access quality care at their nearest place.
In the past few decades, every decade we've witnessed some kind of movement that brought about political transformation. But have we managed to institutionalize those transformation, and have we seen some substantive impact in our socio-cultural setting and our standard of life, standard of education and health overall?
Well, that is, although it sounds a general question, but that's a very deep question, Sarah. I think institutionalization of any change is the most crucial step in leading change. So any change, whether it's organizational, social, or political, unless they are institutionalized, you cannot bear and experience the fruits of change in a sustainable manner. So what happens is, as the change takes place, you will see some of things happening parallelly. One, there will always be resistance to change. There will be actors who have probably benefited from the previous system and would want same kind of status quo. But then change has happened and it will be difficult for people to accept. And there will be slowness in implementation of any decisions. There will be forces applied to make sure that the change doesn't implement properly. And also there's going to be a situation where the system institutions are not strong enough to actually institutionalize the change. It could be the lack of human resource, it could be lack of skills to institutionalize those changes. And there's always going to be a situation where if there is a change in leadership, and in case of Nepal, frequent change in leadership, then the problem will arise where people may or may not take the full ownership of that change, which then gets into a dangerous situation of whether you are fully actually implementing the aspirations of the change or not. And therefore, I think what is really important is these aspirations are converted into behaviors, and these behaviors are then built into structures, and these structures are enforced and implemented properly. If that does not happen, there's always a risk of backsliding, which is then very unfortunate. But the most important thing and biggest risk is if this does not happen, if the institutionalization doesn't take place, then that can build frustration within the public, and that will then take to any course. You never know.
We are at present in a very vulnerable state. We're heading for an election, and we witnessed a major movement as well just recently with Gen Z protests, which I think we did so in other countries as well. Do you think this is a global phenomenon or just a generational thing that happens between every generations?
Well, there are, with every new generation, there are different kind of aspirations. You talk to the next generation, 10 years younger people than yourself. The whole thinking process pattern, the way you address any challenges you face, they're all different. It's so different. If I talk to my kids, they come up with completely different perspective, right? And at times it is difficult to fathom where did even they think and learn these things from, right? You don't even get to know that, understand it. So I think catching and addressing those generational aspirations is really important. If the leadership is not such far-sighted and capturing and trying to understand and addressing those aspirations of different generation, that can happen. Protests can happen based on different reasons, but when we're talking about one particular generation right now, there are certainly aspirations. It may be that for you and me, something that this new generation is talking about is not as important as the importance they give to the same thing. Recently, when the social media ban, probably the generation, the older generation, probably did not think that particular demand as important as the Gen Z thought it is. Has it become the part and parcel of life of people? And does it actually completely erode and affect the livelihood of people? So if we do not and cannot understand that, it becomes very difficult. Because even though you and I have willingness to address those, but the importance that we will give would not be as much as they would expect us to be doing, right? And therefore, I think it's really important that these new generations are not only understood and taken as the beneficiaries of what we do, but they are engaged in the conversations and made the partners in the process of finding solutions. I think that's really important. When that thing lacks, the protests like these are bound to happen. We at times fail to understand the kind of wisdom the new generation brings and the kind of different approaches they look at the things and address. So I think it's really important to capture that.
How do you see, considering everything that is happening at present, the scenario unfolding in the next few months or year?
Well, the future is difficult to predict, of course. We hope as the government plans right now, the elections are held, and then the politics takes a new course. And of course, the aspirations the new generation has of accountability, the corruption-free society, these are taken seriously by all the actors, and the new government can address everything that even the current interim government cannot. And so that all the actors become part and parcel of this whole change process and take ownership. So one of the dangers, again, to add to your previous question, when you're leading change, one of the dangers is if the actors in the change process do not feel the ownership of the process that is moving forward, that again becomes dangerous. And therefore, the new generation, the next to Gen Z is going to come soon, right? So if these generations do not feel like we take ownership of what is happening, or we are participating in this whole process, that will create another danger. And therefore, I think it's really important. I hope that moving forward, the generation is going to take part in this whole process and take full ownership of how we move the things, because we need to come out of the emotions and sentiments alone. Of course, that's an important part of human life, but also we need to think about how we resolve the situations. For example, we talk about reduction or what we call elevation of corruption. How do we do that? We need to come up with the concrete ideas and steps and implement them. And if things are not working, figure them out on a day-to-day basis. We really need to think about providing the solutions. So I hope that the new generation is actually looking at those things, not only expecting some other people to deliver on it and express their frustration, but be part of actually finding solutions, and they actually become those leaders to address the solutions. Whatever way they do, but their participation would really be important, I think.
Just to stretch on what you just said, what would be an ideal step-by-step thing that we could do to make sure all our financial activities of the government and everything is transparent and that we deal with corruption?
Well, when you talk about corruption, it sounds like it's a responsibility of government, right? It is, but that's not absolute answer, right? We are all responsible for creating a corruption-free society. How do we do that? It is easier to question people, question others. I mean, right now you will question people, whoever is in the government, and then tomorrow you're going to question the person, whoever next is in the government. And therefore, I think it is important, as we said earlier, about making change a culture. And how do we create a culture of no corruption? That will need to start from our families, from our institutions, from our communities, and so on. But then if the government does not take initiatives does not create that kind of infrastructure and policy environment, then for the individuals and communities it becomes difficult. So it needs to be both the ways, but we should also think about it is our collective responsibility, right? It is not going to be, when we say step by step, what may easily come to our mind is, okay, have policy in place, enforce it, right? Have maybe a stronger punishment mechanism, and that's going to work. Of course it will. Well, that needs to happen. But then there's more steps that we need to take if we really want to get into that. So I'll just give you an example of, like, I think it was my first or second Europe visit, I was standing in at a store to buy a cell phone. Not cell phone, but the SIM card.
This is here in Nepal?
No, outside in Europe, in Finland.
Okay.
So, I was struggling to get that SIM card inserted into the phone. You know, it used to be non-digital at that time. So the shopkeeper actually helped me. It was maybe for a couple of minutes. I was standing there. I didn't even realize that there were like 50 people standing behind me. They were waiting patiently for their turn. And because they didn't make any sound, I didn't even notice there were people behind me. And I felt so ashamed that I was blocking them, getting my thing done. But then I also felt like, if it was in my community, maybe people would be shouting and pushing and, trying to get and grab and like. So, of course, you expect that the government makes and creates those rules and mechanisms, but unless I have my discipline of, performing, acting accordingly, my life becomes like that. Enforcement of law alone doesn't change, right? So I think it has to be both the ways. Of course, government will need to take very strong initiatives to control, but also we need to look at it from our individual and institutional perspectives.
Like they say, change starts from yourself.
Exactly. Yep, true.
Now, let's take a look at our education sector. There's clearly a divide since so many years, in fact, of private education and public education. We're clearly creating two different sorts of human resource. And then it ultimately culminates into sending two types of workforces as well. We're creating workforces, one for the Gulf nations that solely work to make a living, the other to the developed countries who either go there for education, higher education, or skilled jobs. Where are we lagging?
I think in your question, one of the biggest concern that underlines, I think, Sarah, is how do we avoid getting into the generational inequality, right? Which is a very big problem that will happen if we do not address it right now. Which means that you have you have a good wealth, you can afford good schools, your kids can go to good schools and they get better opportunities, and your kids' generation and their kids' generation, in the inequality with the kind of school they can afford and with those who cannot afford, that will continue. This generational inequality, that can cause another kind of conflict in the societies. So it is really important, your question of how do we address that gap. Well, we are in a world where I think you wouldn't be in a position to say that nationalize everything, governments should run all the schools, and then so all the private schools are shut down, and that's how you're gonna create equality. I think we've heard those kind of political, social, economic voices also, but that has not translated into reality. So what is the workable solution in that case? It's only that we improve the quality of public schools. It's only through improving the public school system that you can sort of like bridge that gap. What do you need to do? There are a lot of things. Invest in infrastructure, like healthcare we talked about. We need to improve the infrastructure of education. We need to continue to provide support to educators. With this recent change of federalism, there has again been the gap created where the school teachers feel there's lack of support system now than it used to be in the past, which is very unfortunate. So remember, like we had district education office, there were school inspectors that would go and provide support, do the monitoring and evaluation. So during this change process, there has been some gaps, and we have got this basic school system under the local government now. But we really need to empower the local government so that they can provide support and do the monitoring evaluation. If not, then the provinces need to take that role and provide that support to the school. So, like I said, improve infrastructure, also provide the support to the school educators, teachers, where it could be providing them refresher training, or also pedagogical support. How do you better teach the students so that they can learn better? And also a continuous monitoring and evaluation, so that if you perform well, you get rewarded. You know, a system of reward and punishment needs to be put in place, and that will help empower and improve our public education system. Then you can have public and private school providing similar quality of education, and you lessen that gap of that we're talking about, created by this.
Just a day ago, I had a conversation with World Bank's Division Director, David Sislin, and he mentioned something when I talked about remittance, how we receive a huge chunk of it, but we're not being able to properly utilize it so that we could materialize it into something productive. How do you see this whole thing?
No, I think that I would agree with him. One, we need to think about the people that are sending us the remittance to run this country. How can we actually systematize that, improve that, which means that how can we train people so that the trained human resource goes out, and if they actually need to go out and work outside, which should not be banned, but of course they can actually earn better, contribute better, and give back to the country better. And also then your question of how we better utilize the resource we get from their earning. So I think the revenue that we get through the remittance, it should not only be linked to the development of the country, it should also be linked to the what you call the senders, the remittance senders, their own pride. Right? This is what I have contributed to the country. Do you think any person who is in Gulf country earning money, sending money to this country, feels proud of sending that money here? Maybe he does, because he or she does, because they are able to take care of their families. But it could be converted into a sense where you say that your contribution has helped this country develop so much. We have created this infrastructure, we have created this development initiative. And so you take that ownership. And wherever you are, whichever part of the world you are in, whatever contribution you have made, if you feel like, oh, my contribution is actually, in fact, wherever I am, it is contributing towards development of my country, that would be much better. And so there can be some creative and innovative ways of utilizing that remittance, and also proper communication of how it is being used to those people who are contributing is equally important, I think, so that they can feel proud.
There's so much to do to develop our country, of course, but it feels almost like we are in a state of stagnancy at the moment because of the political changes that have happened recently. How do we go about creating good quality jobs for people so that we can retain the quality human resource?
Well, I think it's a multifaceted approach that we need to take. One, we need to focus on what's available in this country, what can actually be grown. For example, the potential that we have. It could be agriculture, it could be tourism, it could be hydroelectricity, or whatever potential that we have. How we harness that, and any job creation. Any innovation, if we can link that with our potential of this country, that's one thing we need to look at. That will help us grow the number of jobs. And second, we need to focus on the training, the kind of training we provide. How can we create and provide the vocational training or technical training so that our production can actually think about, all right, so 1,000 megawatt of electricity produced from this particular river. So entire human resource we do, and we invest, and then we create everything, right? So I think it is important to look at the skill set of individuals, and at the same time we should also look at the potential that we have in this country. A good match of that will really be helpful. And also I think we have an opportunity of Nepali diaspora outside, really skilled people, very smart people, and they could come back and work, they could invest and help. So there's a lot of potential that we can actually work on.
Dr. Koloni, as chair of AIN, you've spoken about regulatory frameworks that risk constraining the civil society. What, in your view, is the ideal balance between accountability and freedom of NGOs in Nepal?
Right. So I think we have to have a balance of two things. One, there has to be high freedom. Another, high accountability. If we put them together, you asked about balance. I think it's a balance of freedom and accountability. And that actually is going to create a healthy civil society. So what does that mean? That means that the civil society organizations are given freedom of association, freedom of expression, freedom of advocacy, freedom of contributing into the legal process or lawmaking process in the country. So all of that. But at the same time, have a space for their self-regulatory mechanism. But at the same time, the organizations are accountable towards their own process, whether it is about auditing system, delivering impact on the areas that they have selected to work in. So if we can create that balance, and the state considers the civil society organizations as partners, thinking that how can we go together and co-create some of the innovative ideas, because civil society organizations have a high potential to generate innovative ideas because they work in a limited space, even though it's an investment of a small resource. But then with the kind of scope of work they have, new innovations can come. So if the state can treat the civil society organizations as the partners, and there is that balance of freedom and accountability, that creates a balanced and prosperous civil society.
Mm-hmm. You've helped advance integrated digital health records in Nepal, especially in rural areas. What is needed, you think, to scale such innovations nationwide within government systems?
Oh, yeah. So we need multiple things. For example, you need a strong leadership, you need a vision, you need finances, you need infrastructure, all of these things. But at the same time, in terms of adoption of innovation, there's a lot of literature that talks about innovation adoption takes place in phases. There are people who innovate, right? So they own and they adopt it well. And there are people who will quickly adopt the innovation and new ideas, new technology, and will start utilizing it. Mm-hmm. There are, they call early majority. There will be people following that. There are late majority people who will come slowly to adopt it. And there are laggards, people who need to be dragged along, right? So whenever we talk about innovation, there are going to be different kinds of people. We need to bear that in mind. But at the same time, that's also a change process, like we spoke earlier about political change or other. So in any innovation, that's a change process. So how do you create a sense of urgency that we need this particular new technology? When we did Nepal EHR, so of course, there was a lot of resistance, you can imagine. Of course, there was a support from the government side that we need to do, but there was not enough resource. We were able to put that together. And then there's a human aspect of, as I said, how do you adopt innovation? So you need to change behavior. If you are a person, you like technology, still if you are used to it, writing on the paper, it's going to take time for you to start, typing on the computer. So how do you bring those people on board? For me, what was the biggest motivator when we looked at the whole process was the impact generated by the technology itself. For example, I'll just give you an example of, you have the whole patient history recorded on the computer, on the digital system. And that entire process initially feels like burdensome for the person doing that work. Because instead of writing on the register, you are typing everything. If you're not used to it, it's going to take some time. But then the patient comes for follow-up, you just hit a click, everything is there, right? So I feel like, oh wow,
it's rewarding.
Exactly. So that's the kind of reward. You see that in your experience. And then you start loving it. It just helps. It is not, again, like what we need to think about. It's not about replacing paper by computers. It is about how we use technology to improve care delivery. So in terms of scale, to your question, I think we need to work on infrastructure, which is improving gradually. Government needs to prioritize. We already have a strategy in place, and there needs to be a steady, stable government with the vision that we are going to be doing this within a certain period of time. It'll get done. You'll get a lot of support.
Change is a gradual process. There will be resistance, but there are also rewards.
Oh, yes.
But one step at a time.
One step at a time, exactly.
Dr. Koloni, it's always so good to have a conversation with you. Thank you so much for being on NTV World Insight.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me here. Always good to talk to you. So thank you.
And thank you too for watching our program. Do join us on our social media pages and also visit our official website nepaltelevision.com for more news and information. Until next time.
প্রমত্তা পদ্মার বুকে সগৌরবে দাঁড়িয়ে থাকা এক অহংকারের নাম পদ্মা সেতু। দেশের দক্ষিণাঞ্চলকে রাজধানী ঢাকার সাথে যুক্ত করেছে ৬.১৫ কিলোমিটার দীর্ঘ এই সেতু। গত বছরের জুনে চালু হওয়া এই সেতু ইতোমধ্যে দেশের অর্থনীতিতে রাখতে শুরু করেছে বড় অবদান। নানা প্রতিকূলতা পেরিয়ে বিশাল এই স্থাপনাটি হয়ে উঠেছে জাতির সক্ষমতা ও গর্বের প্রতীক হিসেবে। দেশের সবচেয়ে দীর্ঘ ও নান্দনিক স্থাপত্য শৈলীর এই সেতুকে ঘিরে মানুষের আগ্রহ বিপুল। পদ্মা সেতু দেশের অর্থনীতিতে অবদান রাখার পাশাপাশি এই সেতুকে ঘিরে অত্র এলাকায় তৈরি হয়েছে ব্যাপক পর্যটন সম্ভাবনা। সেই সাথে নদীকেন্দ্রিক পর্যটনেরও বিরাট সম্ভাবনা দেখা দিয়েছে স্বপ্নের পদ্মা সেতুকে ঘিরে। পদ্মার মাওয়াঘাটে দীর্ঘদিন মাঝির কাজ করেছেন লিটন মিয়া। তিনি জানালেন, পদ্মা সেতু চালু হওয়ার পর থেকে দেশের বিভিন্ন প্রান্ত থেকে মানুষ আসছে পদ্মা পাড়ে।
পদ্মা সেতু যখন ছিল না তখন আমাদের কোনো পর্যটক ছিল না। পদ্মা সেতু হওয়ার পর আমাদের পর্যটক বেড়ে গেছে, মানে অনেক প্রচুর পরিমাণ লোক আসে ঘুরে, আমাদের ইনকামের সোর্সও বাড়ছে আগের চেয়ে। এখন আমরা অনেক ভালো আছি।
ইট পাথরের শহরে জীবন ছেড়ে একটু সতেজ নিঃশ্বাস নিতে নগরবাসীর সহজ পছন্দ এই পর্যটন স্থানটি। রাজধানী ঢাকা থেকে মাত্র ৩৫ কিলোমিটার দূরে এই স্থানটিতে আসা যাওয়ার পথে পর্যটকদের দারুণভাবে আকৃষ্ট করে ঢাকা মাওয়া এক্সপ্রেসওয়ে। দুই ধারে বিস্তীর্ণ সবুজ প্রান্তর আর এর মাঝ দিয়ে যাওয়া এই মহাসড়কটি পর্যটকদের অন্যরকম এক ভালো লাগার অনুভূতি দেয়। পর্যটকদের ক্রমবর্ধমান চাহিদা মেটাতে নানাবিধ সুবিধা চালু হয়েছে পদ্মা সেতুর দুই প্রান্তে। গড়ে উঠেছে বেশ কিছু আধুনিক রিসোর্ট ও রেস্তোরাঁ। এছাড়া সাধারণ ও স্বল্প আয়ের ভ্রমণ পিপাসুদের জন্য এখানে গড়ে উঠেছে রেস্তোরাঁ সহ বিভিন্ন পর্যটন সুবিধা। পদ্মা সেতু চালু হওয়ার পর থেকে পর্যটকদের জন্য বিভিন্ন সুযোগ সুবিধা বৃদ্ধি করেছে এখানকার পর্যটন সেবাদানকারীরা।
এখানে পদ্মা সেতু ঘিরে পর্যটন সম্ভাবনার অপার সম্ভাবনা। পদ্মা সেতু চালু হওয়ার পর থেকে আমাদের মাওয়া রিসোর্টের গেস্টের আসা যাওয়াটা আরও বেড়েছে। এখানে আমরা আরও নতুন অনেক সুবিধা সংযোজন করেছি। আগে এখানে আমাদের শুধু রুম সার্ভিস এবং রেস্টুরেন্ট সার্ভিস ছিল, এখন আমরা এখানে আমাদের ভালো 5 স্টার স্ট্যান্ডার্ড সুইমিং পুল অ্যাড করেছি, ভালো মানের ভিলা কটেজ এগুলো আছে। এখানকার আগের চেয়ে মনে করেন যখন সেতু চালু হয়েছে, সেতু চালু হওয়ার পর আমাদের পর্যটক কেন্দ্র আরও লোক আসছে, ঘুরতে বেশি করে যায়। ঠিক আছে, আগে ট্রলার ছিল মনে করেন 30টা, এখন ট্রলার মনে করেন 50টা ট্রলার চলতেছে। প্রতিদিন মনে করেন 6টা-7টা করে টিপ পাই আমরা ট্রলারের। আর এখন মনে করেন ভালোই বহুত লোক যাচ্ছে আর কি। ওখানে দ্বীপচর আছে, চরে যা নামে ঘুরে মানুষ আনন্দ পায়, এই জন্য আরো বেশি মানুষ আসতেছে।
সরকারি বেসরকারি ট্যুর অপারেটররা চালু করেছে পদ্মা কেন্দ্রিক নানা ধরনের ভ্রমণ প্যাকেজ। সেই সাথে স্থানীয় অধিবাসীরা পদ্মায় ভ্রমণ পিপাসুদের বিনোদনের কথা মাথায় রেখে নৌবিহারের আয়োজন করেছে। নৌকা ও ট্রলারে করে নৌবিহার কিংবা পদ্মা সেতুর নিচ দিয়ে নদী ভ্রমণ এখানে বেড়াতে আসা পর্যটকদের কাছে খুবই পছন্দের।
এই জায়গায় আসলে মন ভালো হওয়ার মতো একটা জায়গা। এই জায়গায় সেতু দেখলাম, আশেপাশে মনোরম দৃশ্য দেখলাম, মোটামুটি খুব সুন্দর।
পদ্মার নিচ থেকে ছবি তুলছি, তারপরে এখানে আসি টঙের দোকানে চা খাইলাম, ঝালমুড়ি খাইলাম, পরিবার মিলে রেস্তোরাঁয় খাবো পদ্মার ইলিশ দিয়ে। সবকিছু মিলাই যে অনুভূতিটা অনেক ভালো।
এখানে এসে নৌকা দিয়ে ঘুরে চমৎকার কিছু মানে সময় উপভোগ করলাম, ভালো লেগেছে, বেশ উপভোগ করেছি সময়টা আমি।
পদ্মা পাড়ে বেড়াতে আসা পর্যটকদের সবচেয়ে বড় আকর্ষণ পদ্মা নদীর রূপালী ইলিশের স্বাদ। পদ্মা পাড়ে বেড়াতে এসেছেন অথচ ইলিশ খাবেন না এমন মানুষ পাওয়া সত্যি বিরল। অনেকে আবার শুধুমাত্র ইলিশ ভাজা খেতেই দল বেঁধে ছুটে আসেন এই মাওয়া ঘাটে।
আমরা আসছি পাবনা থেকে পদ্মা সেতু দেখার জন্য মূলত। আর পদ্মা সেতু দেখতে আসা, পদ্মার পাড়ে ঘুরতে আসা মানে পদ্মার ইলিশ খাইতে হবে। আমরা ইলিশ খাইলাম এখান থেকে, ইলিশের স্বাদ অসাধারণ হয়েছে।
পদ্মা সেতু দেখতে আসছি আর ইলিশ খাবো না তা হবে না। এখানে এসে খুব সস্তায় ইলিশ পেলাম, খাইলাম, অনেক ভালো লাগলো।
ইলিশ খাওয়ার জন্য সারাটা বাংলাদেশের থেকেই অনেক দূর দূরান্ত থেকে লোকজন এসে ইলিশ ভাজা খায় এবং তার সাথে ইলিশের লেজ ভর্তাটা সবচেয়ে সুমধুর। ইন্ডিয়া থেকে অনেক লোক এ পর্যন্ত আসছে এই ইলিশ খাওয়ার জন্য এবং পদ্মার ব্রিজ দেখার জন্য।
পদ্মা সেতুকে ঘিরে এই এলাকায় যে পর্যটন সম্ভাবনা তৈরি হয়েছে তা টেকসই করতে ইতিমধ্যে কিছু উদ্যোগ নিয়েছে সরকার। পদ্মা সেতুকে ঘিরে ১১৭ বর্গ কিলোমিটার এলাকাকে বন্যপ্রাণী অভয়ারণ্য ঘোষণা করা হয়েছে। 3টি সার্ভিস এরিয়া সহ আশেপাশে প্রায় ২.৫ লাখ গাছ লাগানো হয়েছে, যা এই এলাকার পরিবেশ সংরক্ষণে গুরুত্বপূর্ণ ভূমিকা রাখবে। তবে এখন পর্যন্ত পদ্মা সেতু কেন্দ্রিক পর্যটকদের জন্য যে সুযোগ সুবিধা রয়েছে তা খুবই অপ্রতুল। তাই এটিকে আধুনিক ও আকর্ষণীয় পর্যটন স্পট হিসেবে গড়ে তুলতে হলে নতুন করে ঢেলে সাজাতে হবে পুরো এলাকাটিকে।
এখন যদি এখানে একটা পর্যটক কেন্দ্র হয় কি একটা উৎসব করার জন্য একটা পার্ক সিস্টেম হয় কি গাছগাছলা সিস্টেম হয়, তাই দেখা গেছে লোকজন আরও আসবে, আরও দেখতে আসবে, আরও উন্নত হবে। আমাদের
উন্নত বিশ্বের মতো আমরা যদি ইউরোপ এর কথা চিন্তা করি, সেখানের মতো আমরা যদি একটা ক্রুজ শিপ চালু করতে পারি, সেই সাথে এটির মধ্যে যখন একটি ফুড রেস্তোরাঁ থাকবে, সেই রেস্তোরাঁটাতেও তারা ফুডটাকে এনজয় করতে পারবে। পদ্মার একটি চর রয়েছে, যে চরটিকে কেন্দ্র করে একটি যদি রিসোর্ট গঠন করা যায়, যে রিসোর্টটিতে অনেক পর্যটক কিন্তু আসবে এবং সেখানে তারা থাকবে। কারণ এই জায়গাটি এখন একটি লুক্রেটিভ একটি জায়গা, যেটি শুধু বাংলাদেশের অভ্যন্তরীণ পর্যটক নয়, সেটি কিন্তু আন্তর্জাতিক পর্যটকদের কাছেও কিন্তু আমরা যদি ছোটো ছোটো কিছু প্রোমো তৈরি করে এটিকে যদি আমরা সোশ্যাল মিডিয়া, ইউটিউব এবং ইনস্টাগ্রামের মাধ্যমে এই ব্র্যান্ডিংটা আমরা করতে পারি, তাহলে কিন্তু অভ্যন্তরীণ পর্যটকের পাশাপাশি আমরা আন্তর্জাতিক পর্যটকদেরকেও কিন্তু এই পদ্মা সেতু কেন্দ্রিক যে পর্যটন সেখানে আকৃষ্ট করতে পারবো।
তবে এত সম্ভাবনার মাঝেও আশঙ্কা কম নয়। টেকসই পর্যটনের একটি অতি গুরুত্বপূর্ণ উপাদান হল সুষ্ঠু বর্জ্য ব্যবস্থাপনা। কিন্তু পদ্মা সেতু কেন্দ্রিক যে পর্যটন সম্ভাবনা দেখা দিয়েছে, সেটি বিকাশের ক্ষেত্রে বড় বাধা হয়ে দাঁড়াতে পারে সুষ্ঠু বর্জ্য ব্যবস্থাপনার অভাব ও অবৈধ স্থাপনা। এখানে গড়ে ওঠা রেস্তোরাঁগুলোতে পরিবেশ বান্ধব বর্জ্য ব্যবস্থাপনার অভাব রয়েছে। যত্রতত্র ময়লা আবর্জনা ফেলার প্রবণতা লক্ষ্য করা যায়। অনেক ক্ষেত্রে রেস্তোরাঁর বর্জ্য ফেলা হচ্ছে নদীর ধারে, যা পরিবেশের জন্য মারাত্মক হুমকি স্বরূপ। এছাড়া পর্যটকবাহী নৌযান সহ অন্যান্য নৌযানগুলোতে বর্জ্য ব্যবস্থাপনা নেই বললেই চলে। এসব নৌযানের সব বর্জ্যের স্থান হয় নদীতে। ফলে এভাবে চলতে থাকলে দিনে দিনে এখানে যতই পর্যটক সংখ্যা বাড়বে, নদী দূষণের আশঙ্কাও তত বাড়বে। সেই সাথে যত্রতত্র গড়ে ওঠা দোকানপাটও এখানকার পর্যটন সম্ভাবনাকে ক্ষতিগ্রস্ত করতে পারে। সার্বিকভাবে এই ধরনের অব্যবস্থাপনা একদিকে যেমন পর্যটকদের হতাশ করবে, তেমনি পরিবেশে ডেকে আনবে বিপর্যয়, যা এখানকার বিকাশমান পর্যটন সম্ভাবনাকে মারাত্মক ঝুঁকির মুখে ফেলবে। তবে এই সমস্যার সমাধানে প্রয়োজন সমন্বিত উদ্যোগ আর সচেতনতা।
পর্যটনকে যদি আরো বেশি উন্নয়ন করতে চাই, তাহলে ওয়েস্ট ম্যানেজমেন্টের উপর গুরুত্ব আরোপ করতে হবে। এই পর্যটন সংশ্লিষ্ট হোটেল, মোটেল, রিসোর্ট এবং রেস্তোরাঁর ব্যবসা যারা বেসরকারিভাবে পরিচালিত করছে, তাদেরকেও কিন্তু এনভায়রনমেন্ট ফ্রেন্ডলি বা ওয়েস্ট ম্যানেজমেন্টের উপর আরও বেশি গুরুত্ব আরোপ করতে হবে। সেই সাথে স্থানীয় যে জনগোষ্ঠী রয়েছে, তাদেরকে আমরা যদি এই পর্যটনের সাথে সম্পৃক্ত করতে পারি, তাহলে একটা অ্যাওয়ারনেস কিন্তু তৈরি হবে অ্যামং দ্য সোসাইটি যে আমাদের এখানে পর্যটন কেন্দ্র গড়ে উঠবে, তবে এটি পরিবেশকে মেনটেন করে, এটি সাস্টেনেবল হবে এবং ওয়েস্টটাকে প্রপারলি ম্যানেজ করতে হবে।
অনেক শ্রম আর ত্যাগের বিনিময়ে অর্জিত পদ্মা সেতু বাঙালির অহংকার। এই সেতুকে ঘিরে পর্যটন সম্ভাবনাকে কাজে লাগাতে হলে সরকারের পাশাপাশি বেসরকারি উদ্যোক্তাদেরও এগিয়ে আসতে হবে। সকলের সমন্বিত প্রচেষ্টায় দেশের পর্যটন খাতে নতুন এক আদর্শ গন্তব্য হয়ে উঠতে পারে পদ্মা সেতু, যেখানে শুধুমাত্র দেশীয় পর্যটকই নয়, বিদেশি পর্যটকরাও আসবে। আর এর মাধ্যমে এই অঞ্চল তথা দেশের আর্থসামাজিক অগ্রগতিতে নতুন দিগন্তের উন্মোচন ঘটবে।
हेलो सौरी खर्क हेलो
एकदमै राम्रो रहेछ रिफ्रेस्ड फिल भयो त्यो क्योसबाट अलि टाढा आएको जस्तो
यहाँसम्मको एउटा केबल कार भइदिए एकदम बेटर हुन्थ्यो जस्तो लाग्छ मलाई
माहौल अथवा यहाँको वातावरण यति रमणीय छ कि यसलाई शब्दमा वर्णन गरेर पनि साध्य छैन
The gently flowing Sanibheri is suddenly veiled by drifting clouds, and with the chill rising from its swift current, the desire to soar is fulfilled as we enter eastern Rukum. Stone and clay houses stacked upon one another, the white Himalayan peaks, vibrant flower gardens of Bukit Batan, melodious rivers and lakes, and unique authentic arts and culture. All of these make Eastern Rukum a place that captivates every visitor. Our aim is to bring this distant, remote land closer to all. This time our destination is Chauri Kharga, located at an altitude of about 4,000 meters above sea level. Our trek begins at Bati Halune. On the border of Eastern Rukum and Baglung along the Mid-Hill Highway. Though it is said that the hike to Chauri Kharga takes around 3 hours, we wonder how long it will take us.
रमाइलो छ उद्यान छ हात काटीतिर हिँड्दै ल घामले गर्दा रमाइलो लाग्यो भन्ने गर्दा भन्ने यस्तो रमाइलो ठाउँ रहेछ हेर्नु
I'm very happy.
हिजो हामीले यस्तो मजाको सिन हेर्न पाइएन अहिले चाहिँ त्यही अब आज हजुर
बिहान 5 बजे आएर ल्याएको
हिजो बेलुका त पुरै कुहिरो दियो यहाँ त केही देखिँदैन
Chorikharka sits high in the hills of Bhumi Rural Municipality 1 in eastern Rukum. It is truly a rare gift of nature, beyond words to fully describe. In winter, these hills lie under a blanket of snow, but now they open up in vibrant color. Green pastures, wide grazing lands, blossoming flowers, and herds of yaks, sheep, and horses make Chorikharka a destination of extraordinary delight. When the sun breaks through the northern peaks, Puta, Dhaulagiri, Chure, and Sisne, they reveal themselves in full grandeur. Rivers flowing through the valleys, including the northern Ganga and Nisel Dhor, together with the backdrop of Dhor Patan, enchant every traveler. The meadows of Chaurikharka bloom with colorful flowers. Among them, cows, sheep, and horses graze peacefully, creating a scene that feels almost dreamlike. Travelers walk along narrow trails, disappearing and reappearing through the mist, immersed in the enchantment of the landscape.
हाम्रो वरिपरिको यो डाँडाहरू भ्यू भनेको उसु भने वाइल्ड फ्लावर्सले सबैले एकदम रिफ्रेश त्यही नै भन्ने होला आउनु पनि वर्थ इटै छ
The weary faces of trekkers brighten as they take in these views, and you can clearly see joy and wonder reflected in their eyes. Fatigue melts away into the beauty of nature. Eastern Rukum is blessed with a wealth of natural treasures, mountains, rivers, lakes, caves, and valuable herbs. In recent years, Chaurikharka has become an increasingly popular destination for domestic travelers, drawing visitors eager to witness its natural magnificence.
Good evening and welcome to Business World. I am Siksha Sharma. This is the first edition of Business World on NTV World, your weekly window into the forces shaping the global economy. This week, gold smashes historic records worldwide, a major trade deal redraws global commerce, old trade wars return, and technology giants move to secure their future in a rapidly changing world. We begin tonight with the global markets, where gold is making history.
Gold prices surged to unprecedented levels in the international market on Wednesday, extending a powerful rally that has driven prices sharply higher across both developed and emerging economies. In global trading, gold jumped nearly 4% in a single session, with prices reaching $5,278 per ounce, the highest level ever recorded. Data from goldprice.org shows gold has gained $203.65, which is around 4% 24.00% in one day alone. Over the past 30 days, gold prices have risen $714.19 16.34%, while gains over the last 6 months stand at $1,757.72 52.83%. On a yearly basis, gold has surged by $2,331.81, an increase of 84.70%. Long-term performance remains striking, with gold up 175.07% over the past 5 years and an extraordinary 808.86% over the past 20 years, underscoring its role as a long-term store of value. The sharp rise in international prices has directly impacted Nepal's domestic market, pushing gold and silver prices to historic highs. According to the Federation of Nepal Gold and Silver Dealers Association, the price of hallmarked gold in Nepal rose by 9,500 Nepali rupees per tola, reaching a record 318,800 Nepali rupees per tola. A tola, a traditional South Asian unit of weight, is equivalent to approximately 11.66 grams. At prevailing exchange rates, this places gold prices in Nepal at around $2,400 per tola, or roughly $206 per gram, marking the highest price ever recorded in the country. Silver prices in Nepal also climbed sharply. Compared to the previous day, silver increased, trading at $4.7 per gram. Market analysts attribute the sustained rally in gold prices to global economic uncertainty, inflationary pressures, currency volatility, and ongoing geopolitical tensions. These factors have intensified demand for safe haven assets, with their impact increasingly visible in smaller and import-dependent markets such as Nepal. With gold and silver trading at record highs globally and domestically, investors worldwide are closely watching precious metals markets for signs on continued momentum and volatility.
India and the European Union have announced a landmark free trade agreement after nearly 2 decades of negotiations. The deal will slash tariffs across goods and services, covering nearly a quarter of the global economy and a market of nearly 2 billion people. Supporters say the agreement could reshape supply chains and boost investment flows between Asia and Europe. But as trade expands in some regions, tensions are resurfacing elsewhere.
The European Union and India have finalized a historic trade agreement, ending nearly 20 years of on and off negotiations. The deal, hailed as a game changer by both sides, aims to strengthen economic and strategic ties amid rising geopolitical tensions with the United States. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, speaking at a media briefing in Delhi, described the pact as the mother of all deals, emphasizing its significance for global trade.
We did it. We delivered the mother of all deals. We are creating a market of 2 billion people. And this is the tale of two giants, the world's second and fourth largest economies. Two giants who choose partnership in a true win-win fashion.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi called the agreement historic, noting its potential to boost economic growth and cooperation between the two regions.
यह FTA भारत और यूरोपियन यूनियन के बीच इन्वेस्टमेंट को बूस्ट करेगा, नई इनोवेशन पार्टनरशिप बनाएगा और वैश्विक स्तर पर सप्लाई चेन को मजबूत करेगा। यानी यह सिर्फ ट्रेड एग्रीमेंट नहीं है, यह साझा समृद्धि का नया ब्लूप्रिंट है।
Under the deal, goods and services will move freely between the EU's 27 member states and India, creating a combined market of 2 billion people that accounts for nearly a quarter of global GDP. Key provisions include major tariff reductions across a wide range of products, expanded services trade, and a joint security partnership. Analysts say the agreement could reshape global trade patterns, offering new opportunities for businesses and signaling a closer strategic alignment between Europe and India in a shifting geopolitical landscape.
US President Donald Trump has reignited trade war concerns by threatening steep tariffs on key allies, He warned Canada of a 100% tariff if it strikes a deal with China and raised tariffs on South Korean imports to 25%. The move have unsettled markets and revived fears of supply chain disruptions and slower global growth. Those tensions are now spilling across the Atlantic.
US President Donald Trump has announced he is raising tariffs on South Korean imports to 25% after accusing Seoul of not living up to a trade deal reached last year. Trump said he would increase levies on South Korea from 15% across a range of products, including automobiles, lumber, pharmaceuticals, and all other reciprocal tariffs. Trump said South Korean lawmakers have been slow to approve the deal, while we have acted swiftly to reduce our tariffs in line with the transaction agreed to. South Korea says it had not been given official notice of the decision to raise tariffs on some of its goods and wanted urgent talks with Washington over the issue. It added that South Korea's Industry Minister Kim Jong-kwon, who is currently in Canada, will visit Washington as soon as possible to meet U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick.
Relations between the United States and Europe have strained further over trade and geopolitical disputes linked to Greenland. European leaders have warned that additional U.S. tariffs would be a mistake, underscoring growing cracks within the Western alliance at a time of global instability. While trade tensions dominate headlines, central banks are facing a different challenge: inflation. The World Economic Forum (WEF) annual meeting kicked off in the Swiss resort city of Davos on Monday, with global figures from politics, business, academia, and civil society attending the 5-day event. The annual forum that attempts to shape global agendas comes at a time of massive global upheaval. Meanwhile, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen told the Davos gathering in Switzerland that extra U.S. tariffs on European countries would be a mistake, warning Washington against imposing punitive trade measures on allied nations over Greenland.
And this is why the proposed additional tariffs are a mistake, especially between long-standing allies. The European Union and the United States have agreed to a trade deal last July.
The Bank of Japan has signaled further interest rate hikes as a weak yen pushes up prices. Officials warn inflationary pressures are becoming stronger and more persistent than in the past. Any shift in Japan's monetary policy could ripple through currency markets, bond yields, and remittance-dependent economies. As governments and central banks adjust, technology companies are racing to secure their future. The Bank of Japan is expected to raise its growth forecast on Friday and signal its readiness to hike interest rates further as recent yen falls and prospects of solid wage gains keep policymakers alert to containing inflationary pressure. But BOJ Governor Kazuo Ueda is likely to offer few clues on how soon the central bank could resume rate hikes, a decision complicated by rising bond yields and Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi's announcement on Monday to call a snap election in February. Having just raised interest rates to a 30-year high of 0.75% in December, the central bank is set to keep borrowing costs steady at its two-day policy meeting ending on Friday. Markets will be looking to Ueda's post-meeting press conference for policy signals, particularly focusing on how the BOJ chief reconciles the need to keep unwelcome yen falls at bay while seeking to avoid further rises in bond yields. TikTok has finalized a deal allowing it to continue operating in the United States, avoiding a potential nationwide ban. Under the agreement, a majority American-owned joint venture will run TikTok's U.S. operations within its algorithm trained exclusively on U.S. data. The move signals a new rulebook for global tech companies operating across the borders. And TikTok is not alone in rethinking its business model. TikTok says it has finalized a deal that will allow the short video app to continue operating in the United States, avoiding a potential ban over national security concerns. The agreement follows years of tension between Washington and Beijing that began during President Donald Trump's first term. Under the deal, TikTok has created a majority American-owned joint venture to run its US business. The app's powerful recommendation algorithm has now been licensed to its American owners and will be trained only on US user data. Experts say changes are likely, though the impact on TikTok's 200 million American users remain unclear. Meta is preparing to trial premium subscriptions on Instagram, Facebook, and WhatsApp. The company says paid features will include expanded AI tools while core services remain free. The move reflects how tech giants are searching for new revenue streams as digital advertising growth slows. From digital platform to clean energy, we now turn to China. China's wind power generation hit a record high in 2025, cementing its position as the world's largest renewable energy producer. Beijing plans to add even more wind and solar capacity this year as it accelerates its green transition. The scale of China's push is reshaping global energy markets and clean tech supply chains. But not every energy story is green.
Technology giant Meta is set to trial premium subscriptions for Instagram, Facebook, and WhatsApp users in the coming months in its latest experiment with paid services. The new offerings would give access to features including expanded artificial intelligence capabilities. Under the plan, access to platform's core services would remain free to use. The firm also plans to test subscriptions for features such as its Vibes video generation app, which the firm says can bring your ideas to life with new AI visual creation tools. The company described it as a limited test to understand whether the ability to publish an increased volume of posts with links adds additional value for subscribers.
Venezuela is opening its oil industry to private and foreign investors in a bid to revive production. The move follows years of sanctions, underinvestment, and falling output. Any increase in Venezuelan supply could influence global prices, a key issue for fuel importing nations. From oil to electric vehicles, the global auto industry is also shifting gears.
Venezuela is moving to overhaul its oil industry, opening the sector to private and foreign investors after years of strict state control. Lawmakers are advancing reforms that would reduce Petroleos de Venezuela SA's dominance, allowing companies more freedom to operate oil fields, market crude, and invest independently. The government says the changes aim to revive production after years of underinvestment, sanctions, and falling output. The shift comes as Caracas seeks to reset ties with Washington, with U.S. energy firms signaling they could return quickly if rules ease. While communities near oil facilities hope for jobs and stability, at the same time, many remain cautious after past oil booms that failed to deliver lasting benefits.
Chinese electric vehicle makers are rapidly expanding overseas as domestic growth slows. A new deal within the European Union has eased trade barriers, giving exporters fresh momentum. Chinese brands now lead global EV sales, challenging established players through innovation and aggressive pricing. And finally, a reminder that strong earnings do not always guarantee market confidence.
Chinese electric vehicle makers are changing ahead with bold target for 2026, even as signs of fatigue emerge in their home market. With the domestic demand slowing and competition intensifying, many are turning to consumers overseas to sustain growth, aided by a recent easing of trade tensions between China and the European Union. Last week's breakthrough agreement between Beijing and Brussels to introduce a price floor on Chinese-made EVs, which will replace EU-imposed tariffs of up to 35%, is also offering exporters a timely reprieve. Chinese EV manufacturers are racing to differentiate themselves on the global stage through innovation, from artificial intelligence and autonomous driving to even flying cars. Globally, Chinese EV makers are reshaping the industry. Last year, Chinese brands dominated global EV sales, with BYD overtaking American EV maker Tesla for the top spot for the first time.
Netflix shares have slid despite the company reporting better than expected earnings. Investors remain concerned about its potential acquisition plans and the impact on debt and cash flow. It's a clear example of how strategy and uncertainty can outweigh performance in today's markets.
Netflix shares fell sharply in early European trading on Wednesday, despite the streaming giant reporting better than expected fourth quarter revenue and earnings. Shares listed in Frankfurt were down around 7%, extending losses seen since early December. Investor sentiment was weighed down by Netflix's decision to pause share buybacks as it seeks to preserve cash for a potential acquisition of Warner Bros. Discovery. The company is engaged in a competitive bidding process, which has raised concerns about higher debt levels and near-term pressure on cash flow. Netflix shares have lost roughly 20% of their value since news of the bid emerged. While analysts acknowledge the company's strong subscriber base and content performance, they note that uncertainty surrounding the scale and financing of any deal has overshadowed recent earnings results.
From record-breaking gold prices and historic trade deals to shifting geopolitics, technology and energy, the global economy continues to evolve at a rapid pace. And each of these stories connects back to everyday lives here in Nepal and around the world. That's Business World for this week. I am Siksha Sharma. Thank you for watching NTV World. We will see you next week.
A city known for its legacy, Kirtipur. Locals also call it Kipu in their own dialect. It is the largest ancient settlement after Kathmandu, Lalitpur and Bhaktapur. The city still has an impressive Malla-era neighborhood. It is also home to Taudaha, the largest lake in the Kathmandu Valley. There are temples, monasteries, bihars, and stupas for both Hindu and Buddhist devotees, along with countless festivals and ritual celebrations that altogether give Kirtipur its distinct and special character. With its ancient Newar settlements, this place is a beautiful convergence of Newar culture and heritage. The 2nd century settlements here, the temples and the stupas, along with the legends and the faiths surrounding them, are fascinating. Situated beside the Kathmandu Valley, which once was a natural lake itself, Kirtipur developed as a flourishing hub of early settlement and culture. Because of this, the area is exceptionally valuable for historical and cultural study. A long time ago, the children of Kirtipur's farming families apparently made a clay tiger to play with while herding sheep and goats. To make that tiger look even more lifelike, they wanted to add a tongue. So they left their sheep and goats nearby and went into the forest to gather leaves. Upon returning, the children found their sheep and goats missing. And when they investigated, the clay tiger opened its blood-red mouth and claimed to have eaten the animals. Apparently, what had happened was that the deity Bhairav, a Hindu deity, had entered the clay tiger. In their anger, the children then cursed the clay tiger so that its mouth would remain perpetually open. This is the famous legend behind the Bagh Bhairav temple as remembered by the residents of Kirtipur. Bagh Bhairav is the revered deity of Kirtipur's residents. Situated in Kirtipur, this temple is accompanied by several smaller temples, many of which can be traced back to the 2nd century according to the historical records. Among them are temples dedicated to Yamaleshwar, Narayan, Bhavani Shankar, Ramchandra, Manavinayak, Vishwakarma, Sridhar Vishnu and Mool Ganesh, all of which were constructed in the 2nd century as per many inscriptions. The historical records mention that the Bagh Bhairav temple, originally made by Shivadev, was again renovated in the 16th century by Jagatpal Varma into a 3-tiered pagoda style. This makes the temple a central attraction of Kirtipur. Most Newar settlements, which are one of Nepal's ethnic groups, are adorned with temples and stupas. So Kirtipur is home to countless temples and stupas as well, too many to count by hand. The Uma Maheshwar temple here is located at the highest point in Kirtipur. From here, one can take in panoramic views of the entire Kathmandu Valley. Swayambhu, an ancient Buddhist stupa, is clearly visible from this vantage point. It is said that the temple's elevation is roughly the same as that of Swayambhu's. On clear days, the world's highest peak, Mount Everest, can also be seen from here. Uma Maheshwar, representing the Hindu deities of Shiva and Parvati in another form, is considered a symbol of family happiness and love. The temple's tiered roofs, its design, the surrounding houses, and the views are not only beautiful but also reflect its historical significance. It is an excellent place to explore and spend an entire day. Kirtipur is special not only for Hindu devotees but also for Buddhists. Its stupas and bihars are ideal for the study, research, and promotion of Buddhism. The Chilancho Stupa, located atop the hill, is said by historians to have been built during Emperor Ashok's visit to Nepal. Its renovation, however, took place in the 16th century during the time of Jagatpal Varma. This site is ideal for prayer and meditation. It feels like Chilancho spreads wisdom along with its fluttering flags under the open sky. It is said that seeing the hills surrounding the Chilancho Stupa, Prithvi Narayan Shaha, the 18th century king who unified Nepal, coveted Kirtipur. His attempts to capture Kirtipur, intended to make conquering Kathmandu, Bhaktapur and Patan easier, only succeeded on the third try.
किर्तिपुरको चाहिँ लोकेसनै अलिकति स्ट्रेटेजिकली एकदम महत्त्वपूर्ण लोकेसनमा छ हैन किनभने किर्तिपुर अब पृथ्वीनारायण शाहलाई पनि के लाग्यो भने किर्तिपुर यो डाँडाकोमा छ डाँडामाथि छ डाँडामा चाहिँ एउटा त्यति बेला चाहिँ किल्लाको रूपमा पनि थियो हैन त्यो भएको हुनाले चाहिँ किर्तिपुर जित्यो भने अरु चाहिँ सजिलै जित्न सकिन्छ भन्ने खालको पृथ्वीनारायण शाहलाई पनि लागेको थियो हैन त्यसले गर्दाखेरि उले चाहिँ काठमाडौँ भ्यालीलाई वा काठमाडौँ यो जुन तीनवटा शहर र यो भ्यालीलाई आफ्नो कन्ट्रोलमा राख्न अगाडि सबभन्दा पहिला किर्तिपुरमा कन्ट्रोल लिन सक्यो भने यहाँबाट चाहिँ अनि चाहिँ अरूलाई अरू एरियामा चाहिँ सजिलैसँग कन्ट्रोलमा लिन सकिन्छ भन्ने हिसाबले चाहिँ उले चाहिँ यसलाई चाहिँ टार्गेट बनाएको हो एउटा कुरा त यो स्ट्रेटेजिकली उचाइमा परेको हुनाले र यसमा पनि यहाँको कोर बस्ती भनेको चाहिँ डाँडाबाट माथि आउनु पर्ने र त्यति बेला तपाईले सुन्नु भए पनि होला किर्तिपुर चाहिँ पुरा गढ पर्खालले घेरिएको थियो त्यो घेरिएको हुनु र चाहिँ त्यहाँ चाहिँ 12 वटा ढोकाहरू चाहिँ थियो र 12 वटा ढोकाबाट मात्र प्रवेश गर्न सकिने त्यस्तो भएको हुनाले चाहिँ एउटा चाहिँ स्ट्रेटेजिकली एउटा चाहिँ यो कोर्टको रूपमा वा चाहिँ गढको रूपमा चाहिँ विकास भएको पाइन्छ फर्स्ट वारमा चाहिँ कालुपाँडे चाहिँ बर्ड भयो कालुपाँडे मार्यो त्यसपछि चाहिँ के भनाइ छ भने किर्तिपुरहरूले चाहिँ कालुपाँडेको टाउको बोकेर हैन त्यहाँ चाहिँ जात्रा गरेको हामी जित्यौं भनेर जात्रा गर्यो भन्ने छ अब त्यो हिस्टोरिकली छ कतिको फ्याक्ट छ थाहा छैन त्यसले गरेर त्यो भनेको चाहिँ त्यो पनि अब त्यो रिस्क त छ नि पृथ्वीनारायण शाहलाई अनि अर्को के छ भने सेकेन्ड वारमा चाहिँ फेरि चाहिँ आफ्नै भाइको चाहिँ आँखा फुटिएको छ हैन त्यसरी दुई पल्ट चाहिँ उले चाहिँ एकदमै हार त्यो पनि हार पनि एकदमै हार मात्र हैन त्यो अब कालुपाँडेको टाउको बोकेर हैन पुरा खुसियालले मनाउनु भनेको त्यसले गरेको चाहिँ एकदमै त्यो ह्युमिलिएट भएको कारणले गर्दाखेरि पछि जब ऊ सत्तामा आयो भए चाहिँ जब उले कन्ट्रोलमा लियो उले चाहिँ बर्बर तरिकाले नै यो किर्तिपुरहरूलाई पनि दुःख दिनुपर्छ भनेर दुःख दिएकै हो
This stupa houses the Pancha Buddha, the depiction of 5 knowledge of Buddha. Facing east is Akshobhya, mounted on an elephant and with earth-touching gestures. Facing south is Ratnasambhav, mounted on a horse and showing the Varad Mudra, which is a gesture of generosity and granting boons. Facing north is Amitabh, seated on a peacock in the meditation mudra, symbolizing infinite light and compassion. Facing west is Amogha, seated on a Garud with the Nag hood in Abhay Mudra, a gesture of fearlessness and protection. At the center sits Vairochan, mounted on a lion and invisible, imparting profound knowledge of Buddhism. The presence of these 5 Buddhas is believed to guide those who have lost their way, whether it is in spiritual seeking or in travel. The stupas, vajras and stone statues here are enchanting, capable of captivating visitors for hours. In Panga of Kirtipur, there is a cremation site. The deceased of the Panga community are cremated here, but this place is different from others. According to local tradition, one cannot stay behind after setting the body on fire. Normally, in other places in Hindu tradition, after the cremation, the ashes are collected after a process that can take up to hours. Here, however, bodies are covered with 9 pieces of wood for adults and 7 for children, along with water-soaked straw. Then the fire is lit before it is time to leave the site. This tradition is only for the people of Panga. Next to the burial ground stands the Vishnu Devi temple, one of the several Shakti Peeth or sacred power sites of the people of Kirtipur. The area is peaceful and known for its spiritual atmosphere. Kirtipur is not only famous for its monasteries and chaityas, it is also rich in history and culture. This place is known for its year-round festivals, rituals, and vibrant cultural way of life. Among the important festivals are the Satgaunle Jatra, Gai Jatra, Bagh Bhairav Jatra, and Indrayani Jatra. On the day of Gai Jatra, a special dance is performed here. The Dhya Papa dance, also called Katmar, is a ceremonial performance where dancers in unique costumes move to traditional music. It is an integral part of Kirtipur's cultural identity. Here, visitors can also find various hotels, homestays, and Newari restaurants. The Newari-style houses and pathways decorated with traditional materials are truly captivating, and the popular Newari restaurants, which draw people from all around, are plentiful. A beautiful example of Newari culture is Newari food, which include famous dishes like para, yumari, and samay bhaji. And visitors relish these dishes with great enjoyment.
अनि अरु भनेको यो सफु मिजा पनि विशेष मान्छेले रुचाउने समय बजी विभिन्न मान्छे पछि फरक छ तर विशेष चाहिँ समय बजी सफु मिजा भेरे आउनुहुन्छ अनि छाङ रक्सी विशेष यहाँको गहना जस्तै नै नेवालानामा यहाँको छाङ रक्सी भनेको एकदमै ओरिजिनल हैन ओरिजिनालिटी भएर चाहिँ मान्छेहरु यहाँको खानामा या छाङ रक्सीमा पनि कुनै मिसावट नभएको चाहिँ प्रुफ भएर चाहिँ सबै मान्छे छाङ खानाको लागि पनि आउनुहुन्छ समय बजीमा अब 12 थरी छन् हैन त्यो पनि हाम्रो शरीरको अर्गानिकमा सबै ठाउँमा चाहिँ सबैमा चाहिने हामी यो विशेष हाम्रो चाहिँ एउटा चाहिँ के भनौं शुभ दिनमा चाहिँ हामी यो पूजा सजा गरेर समय बजी खाने चलन छ नि यो खाली पेटमा हैन त्यो भनेको एउटा राम्रो स्वास्थ्यको लागि एकदमै राम्रो समय बजी भयो अनि भोज चाहिँ हाम्रो एकदमै वैज्ञानिकता हैन अब एकदमै राम्रो तरिकाले चाहिँ नेवारी भोज चाहिँ खुवाउने गर्छौं हामी विशेष यहाँदेखि यो पाचन शक्तिलाई पनि एकदमै ध्यानमा राखेर चाहिँ यो पछि यो भनेर तातो चिसो मिलाएर चाहिँ अन्त्यसम्म चाहिँ खुवाउने चाहिँ एकदमै शरीरको लागि चाहिँ साइन्टिफिक प्रुफ नै छ क्या हाम्रो खानामा चाहिँ
Just before entering Kirtipur, you arrive at another beautiful spot, Taudaha. Known for its environmental, cultural, and religious significance, this pond stretches about 500 meters in length and 400 meters in width. It is said to be shaped like a funnel. Believed to be dwelling place of Karkotak Nag, a serpent king in Hindu-Buddhist mythology. This lake is closely linked to the legends of Manjushri, a Hindu-Buddhist mythological figure, and the Rato Machindranath Jatra. According to the folklore, when the Kathmandu Valley was still a lake, Manjushri cut open the hills to draw the water. The serpents living there were left without a home, so Bhimsen, a powerful heroic figure in Nepali folklore, created Taudaha to shelter them. The famous photo or vest displayed during the Rato Machindranath Jatra also traces its origins to Karkotak Nagraj and Taudaha. Legend says the vest belonged to Karkotak Nagraj, who gifted it to a farmer after the farmer cured his sick serpent queen.
हाम्रो भ्याली चाहिँ एउटा लेक थियो भन्ने चाहिँ छ अनि त्यो लेक हुँदाखेरि चाहिँ अब मन्जुश्री चाहिँ आइपुग्नु भयो यो काठमाडौँ भ्यालीमा अनि उहाँले चाहिँ अब यहाँ चाहिँ तपाईको मानव बस्ती बसाउँछु भनेर एउटा सोच राख्नुभयो त्यो क्रममा चाहिँ तपाईको जुन एउटा भ्याली चाहिँ लेक थियो अनि त्यसपछि त्यहाँ तपाईको बीचमा एउटा कमलको फूल थियो अनि त्यसबाट चाहिँ स्वयम्भूनाथ चाहिँ स्थापना भयो भनेर चाहिँ हाम्रो त्यसलाई रिलेट गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ अनि तपाईको मन्जुश्रीले चाहिँ यो ठाउँमा चाहिँ मानव बस्ती बसाउनको लागि तपाईको यो चोबार हाम्रो चोबारको गलछेडो चाहिँ काट्नु भयो अनि त्यसपछि त्यो कमलको फूल चाहिँ तपाईको स्वयम्भू भयो अनि त्यसपछि त्यो गलछेडोबाट चाहिँ तपाईको अब सबै पानी सँगसँगै पानीमा हुने सबै चीज बगेर जाने भयो अनि त्यो चाहिँ तपाईको नागहरू पनि त्यसमा पर्यो अनि नाग चाहिँ तपाईको त्यो नाग गएपछि चाहिँ अब यो पानी नपर्ने खडेरी लाग्ने तपाईको विभिन्न हिस्ट्री किम्वदन्ती अनुसार तपाईको अनि त्यो हुन्छ भनेर चाहिँ हाम्रो कर्कोटक नाग राजालाई चाहिँ तपाईको यहाँ ल्याएर चाहिँ मन्जुश्रीले स्थापना गर्नुभयो भन्ने चाहिँ एउटा किम्वदन्ती छ मसिन्द्रनाथ चाहिँ तपाईको पानीको देवता भनेर पनि चिन्छौँ हामीले पानीको लागि चाहिँ मसिन्द्रनाथको पूजा गर्ने यो हाम्रो जात्रा गर्ने यो चाहिँ तपाईको त्योसँग भयो अनि प्लस तपाईको त्यो जुन मसिन्द्रनाथको तपाईको भोटो चाहिँ जुन भोटो चाहिँ त्यो जात्रामा देखाइन्छ त्यो भोटो पनि हाम्रो यहाँको नागले चाहिँ तपाईको दिनुभएको भन्ने चाहिँ एउटा किम्वदन्ती छ त्यो चाहिँ तपाईको यहाँको नागको चाहिँ तपाईको एउटा किसानले चाहिँ उपचार गरिदिनु भएको थियो आँखाको अनि त्यो उपचार गरिदिएपछि चाहिँ त्यो चाहिँ तपाईको एउटा गिफ्ट यो भोटो चाहिँ तपाईलाई भनेर किसानलाई दिनुभएको थियो र त्यो किसान चाहिँ तपाईको काम गर्दा गर्दै खेतमा बारीमा एउटा काम गर्दा गर्दै तपाईको त्यो भोटो राखेर तपाईको काम गरिरहँदाखेरि चाहिँ एउटा भूतले चाहिँ तपाईको त्यो भोटो चोरेर लग्यो अरे अनि त्यसपछि त्यो भोटो चाहिँ तपाईको चोरेर लाँदाखेरि अनि फेरि त्यो खोज्दाखेरि अब कहीँ पत्ता लागेन अनि एक दिन चाहिँ यही जात्रामा तपाईको जात्रामा गइराख्दाखेरि चाहिँ तपाईको त्यो भोटो लाएर आएको चाहिँ देखेर त्यो किसानले अनि मेरो भोटो भनेर त्यहाँ अब वार भयो भनौँ न अनि त्यसपछि त्यो भोटो चाहिँ अनि त्यसपछि त्यहाँ जस मसिन्द्रनाथले चाहिँ लिएर यो चाहिँ प्रमाण जसले ल्याउन सक्छ भोटोको मेरो हो भनेर उसैको हुन्छ यो भोटो भनेर चाहिँ तपाईको त्यो मसिन्द्रनाथको जात्रामा चाहिँ हाम्रो त्यो भोटो देखाउने चलन छ र त्यसलाई चाहिँ त्यसरी रिलेटेड छ यो चाहिँ हामीसँग
Taudaha is rich not only in religious and cultural significance but also in biodiversity. The area is home to 38 species of plants, 36 species of insects, and 116 types of birds. Swans gliding across the lake, birds perched in nearby trees, colorful fish swimming below, and small snakes seen occasionally along the banks. All of it make it easy to lose track of time while observing this vibrant ecosystem. In winter, birds migrate here from Siberia, Mongolia, and Tibet to escape the cold. Species such as lahari, kalihas, khoya, malak, and birds like great cormorant and Indian pond heron are also found here at Taudaha. These migratory birds travel thousands of kilometers from various countries to reach this lake. As a wetland area, Taudaha hosts water, land, vegetation, aquatic animals, amphibians, and other wildlife all in one place. For this reason, the lake attracts everyone from casual tourists to students conducting research.
स्वदेशी पर्यटकहरू चाहिँ महिनामा मैले भन्नुपर्दा एभरेजमा भन्छु हैन 10 देखि 15,000 सम्म आउनुहुन्छ विदेशी पर्यटकहरू पनि आउनुहुन्छ 500 देखि महिनामा 1000 सम्म आन्तरिक पर्यटकहरू आउनुहुन्छ अनि हाम्रो यो पुस माघ जुन जाडो सिजन हुन्छ नि त्यसमा चाहिँ यो बच्चाहरूको यो शैक्षिक भ्रमणमा आउने बच्चाहरू चाहिँ धेरै त्यो सिजनमा चाहिँ धेरै बच्चाहरू ल्याउनुहुन्छ अनि अघि पछि पनि हाम्रो शैक्षिक भ्रमणमा बच्चाहरू स्कुलबाट पनि आउनुहुन्छ अनि प्लस यो अब कलेजका विद्यार्थीहरू जुन इन्भाइरोमेन्ट साइन्स पढ्ने विद्यार्थीहरू हुन्छन् हैन त्यस्ताहरू पनि अब यो पानीको माछाको यिनीहरूको पनि रिसर्च गर्न पनि विद्यार्थीहरू आउनुहुन्छ यहाँ नेपालीलाई चाहिँ पर पर्सन 30 रुपैयाँ छ विदेशीलाई 50 रुपैयाँ अनि हाम्रो जुन स्कुल कलेजबाट शैक्षिक भ्रमणमा आउनुहुन्छ नि उहाँहरूलाई चाहिँ हामीले 50% डिस्काउन्ट दिन्छौँ.
As tourist numbers increase, so have vendors selling fish feed around Taudaha. These traders who stay around the lake from morning to evening occasionally also encounter snakes. But believing the snakes to represent Karkotak Nagraj, the traders drive them away by just burning incense.
बिहान 10 बजेतिर आउँछु अनि 5 बजेसम्म बस्छु. अब कहिले 10 किलो निस्किदिन्छ कहिले 5 किलो कहिले अब यस्तै 1-2 किलो मात्रै जान्छ. म बसेको चाहिँ भयो 14 वर्ष भयो. अब पहिला भनेको व्यापार त्यति हुन्थेन. अब अहिले भनेको जस बिहान बेलुका खानालाई चाहिँ पुग्छ. दिनको कहिले 1000-1200 नि हुन्छ कहिले 2000-2500 नि हुन्छ कहिले 1-200 हुन्छ कहिले 20 रुपैयाँ मात्रै नि हुन्छ. त्यो चाहिँ हुँदैन जस सँगाली राख्दाखेरि महिनामा 8-10 हजार चाहिँ हुन्छ. परारको साल कताबाट सर्बो आए देखिन मैले हैन पछि चाहिँ मेरो डडालामा आइपुग्या त्यो सर्बो अनि म डढाइ मैले आँखा चिम्ली अनि सुल्ल आफै सर्बो चाहिँ उता तलतिर गयो पहरीतिरै.
Just before reaching Taudaha, Chobar is a unique tourist spot in Kirtipur. Manjushri Park here is one of the popular picnic destinations. The cave, Chobar Gorge, Suspension Bridge, Jalvinayak Temple and Adinath Lokeshwar Temple are all must-visit sites. This gorge is said to be where Manjushri cut the hills to drain water from the Kathmandu Valley, making it suitable for human settlement. Therefore, this place holds historical and mythological significance. Jalvinayak Temple is located along the Bagmati River. Among Kathmandu Valley's 4 main Ganesh temples, Surya Vinayak, Chandra Vinayak and Ashok Vinayak, Jalvinayak is one of them. It is built in traditional pagoda style. Toran or archways, tudal or roof struts, and gajur or pinnacles enhance its architectural beauty. So this temple is significant both for religious faith and for historical and architectural value. Spread over 14.76 square kilometers, Kirtipur has many places to explore, which cannot be fully visited in a single day. Its heritage, lifestyle, and festivals are all unique. To guide tourists before visiting, a tourist information and service center has been established. It lies near the Kirtipur's entry point. This center provides information about major tourist attractions and helps make the visit easier. Exploring Kirtipur's historical, religious, cultural and natural sites is incredibly enchanting. These sites are witnesses to history. For research and study, visiting Kirtipur is essential. The local lifestyle, daily life, the breeze, and the scent of the soil here, all of it are very special. In modern times, as ancient civilizations threaten to vanish, Kirtipur strives to maintain its ancient identity. Its monasteries, temples, chaityas, ponds, markets, and even the language reflect this heritage. Kirtipur is not just a tourist destination. It offers experiences of meditation and knowledge, and of peace and beauty. Its stories and hospitality attract everyone. To witness and feel the unique confluence of history, culture, and nature, visiting Kirtipur is a must, not just once, but again and again.
Buddha Nilkantha is one of Nepal's most sacred and historic pilgrimage sites. Located at the southern base of Shivapuri Hill, just north of the Kathmandu Valley, this temple complex has long served as a peaceful place where devotees come to seek faith and spiritual connection. At its center lies the extraordinary statue of Lord Vishnu, known here as Jal Narayan. This massive stone figure, half submerged in a sacred pond, shows Vishnu reclining on the coils of Sheshnag, the king of serpents. Resting on the cosmic ocean, this form represents divine balance and protection, making Buddha Nilkantha one of the most revered Vishnu shrines in Nepal.
यहाँ विशेष गरी हाम्रो वैशाख महिनाभरि मेला लाग्ने गर्दछ। त्यसमा पनि वैशाख 1 गतेलाई विशेष रूपले मानिन्छ र वर्षमा 5 चोटि वैशाख 1 गते भगवानलाई विशेष गरगहनाहरूले सजाइन्छ, पूजापाठ विशेष पूजाहरू हुन्छ, महास्नानहरू आदि हुन्छन्। त्यस्तै गरी वैशाख 1 गते, वैशाख पूर्णिमा अनि कार्तिक शुक्ल द्वादशी र कार्तिक पूर्णिमामा विशेष मेला लाग्दछ र यस ठाउँको पर्व अनुसारको विभिन्न समयमा एकादशीमा, शनिबार, बुधबार, बिहीबार त्यस्ता विशेष पर्वहरूमा ठुलो घुइँचो भिड लाग्ने परम्पराहरू चल्दै आएका छन्।
Two major festivals, Hari Sayani Ekadashi in Asar and Hari Bodhini Ekadashi in Kartik, are celebrated with great devotion. Ekadashi, observed on the 11th day of each lunar fortnight, is a sacred fasting day dedicated to Lord Vishnu. It is believed to purify the mind and body and deepen spiritual discipline. During these festivals, the temple becomes lively with worship, fasting rituals, chanting, and the lighting of oil lamps. Even on regular days, hundreds of people visit to pray, meditate, and experience the calm environment of the temple. The history of Buddha Nilkantha is believed to date back to the Lichavi period, showing the artistic and cultural depth of ancient Nepal. The 5-meter-long black stone idol lies gracefully on the serpent bed, holding the conch, chakra, mace, and lotus, symbols of protection, cosmic order, and divinity. According to legend, a farmer and his wife discovered the statue while plowing their field. Their plow struck stone, and the idol is said to have bled. Shocked, the villagers gathered and uncovered the figure with their hands. Afraid they had committed a sin, the farmers apologized to the god for disturbing the idol. Stories say that Lord Vishnu then appeared before the people as Narayan in forms similar to those worshipped in Badrinath and Kedarnath. This is believed to be the origin of the name Nilakantha.
किसानले हाम्रो खलोमा जहाँ खन्यौं त्यहीबाट रगत आइरहेको छ भन्ने कुराहरु चाहिँ फैलिए अनि गाउँका किसानहरु जो खेतमा काम गरिरहेका थिए ती सबै जम्मा भएर हातको माध्यमले खन्दै जाँदाखेरि यो भगवानको दिव्यमान विग्रह प्राकट्य भयो। प्राकट्य भइसकेपछि तिनी किसानलाई बडा चिन्ता भयो, चिन्तित भए। मैले त ठूलो अपराध गरेछु, भगवान यहाँ हुनुहुँदो रहेछ मलाई थाहा थिएन र भगवानसँग एकदम अनुनय विनय गर्न थाले, रुन कराउन लागे। साक्षात हेर्दाखेरि भगवान चाहिँ सामान्य रूपमा सामान्य दृष्टिले हेर्दाखेरि नारायणको रूपमा देखिनुहुन्छ, तर भगवान चाहिँ बद्रीनाथ र केदारनाथजीको स्वरूपमा आउनु भएको अनि त्यसलाई चाहिँ पूर्णता दिनको लागि नाम चाहिँ उनको नाम नीलकण्ठ थियो। त्यही भएर भगवानले तिम्रो नाम र मेरो नाम प्रसिद्धि गर भनेपछि नीलकण्ठ भनेर चाहिँ नाम रहने भयो।
Although open to the sky, the temple is an important example of traditional Nepali architecture, simple, symmetrical, and symbolic. The area also serves as a gurukul, offering teachings in Sanskrit, Vedas, and classical forms of worship. Surrounding the temple are peepal trees, valued for their religious, cultural, and environmental importance. They provide shade and a sense of calm to the space. At the northern entrance are the idols of Tridev and Tridevi, Shiva, Saraswati, and Ganesh. They symbolize power, knowledge, and auspicious beginnings. At the center stands a statue of Hanuman, representing strength, devotion, and loyalty. Every morning from 7:30 to 8:30 a.m., priests perform the daily ritual, bathing the statue, offering fresh clothes, flowers, incense, and holy water. The sounds of conch shells, bells, and chanting create a devotional atmosphere.
I have deep faith in Buddha Nilkantha, which is why I come here often. Every visit brings me a sense of peace and comfort.
Buddha Nilkantha is also connected to nature. The green forest of Shivapuri rises just above the temple, adding to its peaceful surroundings.
यो क्षेत्र चाहिँ वास्तवमा अब यो भगवान विष्णुको चाहिँ एउटा आस्थाको केन्द्रबिन्दु.
This place is a center of devotion for all followers of Lord Vishnu. Most people come here with the belief that their prayers will be heard and their wishes fulfilled.
For many visitors, the temple acts as an entry point to both spiritual and natural beauty, attracting pilgrims from Nepal and abroad. Today, Buddha Nilkantha stands not only as a religious site but also as a cultural heritage treasure. The government, local communities and devotees continue to work together to protect and preserve it for future generations.
Nepal's Election Commission to use local materials for March 5 elections. More than 60% of polling stations in Madhesh termed highly sensitive. Nepal battles alarming exodus of medical professionals, lower success rate in licensing exams and limited opportunities blamed. Nepali households struggle as prices of essentials surge ahead of elections, market monopoly and lax government monitoring cited. Nepal's health ministry issues warning over Nipah virus outbreak in neighbouring India prompts border surveillance. China executes 11 members of mafia family running scam centres in Myanmar, convicted on homicide, fraud, illegal detention and gambling. And 5 English clubs finish in top 8 of Champions League in a dramatic final night. Bayern, Barcelona and Sporting CP also secure their berths. Hello there, I'm Smithu Gising Thamwang and this is NTV World News Hour coming to you live from Kathmandu at 2200 hours Nepal time. The news in detail. Nepal's Election Commission has decided to use locally produced materials for the upcoming March 5 House of Representatives election to make the process economical, transparent and supportive of local products. A total of 51 types of election materials will be used, with 37 procured from provinces and districts and 14 from the central level, mainly through the Salt Trading Company, while only new materials worth 67.5 million rupees have been purchased and others reused. Meanwhile, 1,246 out of 2,160 polling stations of Nepal's Madhya province have been classified as highly sensitive, particularly those near the Indian border, with security and monitoring measures in place. The province has 4,471 polling centres with 3.52 million registered voters, including 1.91 million men and 1.61 million women. Nepal is experiencing a growing exodus of medical professionals driven by low pay, poor licensing exam results and limited career opportunities. Only 39.45% of candidates passed the 74th NMC licensing exam, highlighting challenges in medical education. Requests for certificates of good standing needed for foreign work have more than doubled over 6 years, with the UK and US as top destinations. Experts warn that this brain drain threatens Nepal's public healthcare system, especially in rural areas. We'll follow the details on this story in our issue of the day later in the bulletin. Now, Nepal's Ministry of Health and Population has issued a caution over the risk of the Nipah virus, warning that although no cases have been detected in Nepal so far, the threat remains high. The Health Ministry says surveillance has been intensified at airports, border checkpoints and health institutions, and instructions have been issued to test samples from travellers showing suspicious symptoms. The Nipah virus originates in bats and can spread to humans through animals such as pigs and cattle, as well as through direct contact with the blood or urine of infected individuals. Symptoms include fever, headache, dizziness and breathing difficulties. The World Health Organization has warned that the fatality rate can range from 40 to 70% if timely treatment is not provided. Prices of daily essentials in Nepal's Kathmandu have surged by 5 to 10% over the past week as the election approaches, sparking concern among consumers. Items such as oil, rice, pulses, legumes and vegetables have seen notable increases. While consumers accuse traders of exploiting the election atmosphere, retailers maintain that price hikes reflect rising wholesale costs and a modest profit margin. The government has also been criticized for its lax monitoring of market inflation. We dig deeper into this in our upcoming cover story segment. China has executed 11 members of a notorious mafia family that ran scam centers in Myanmar along its northeastern border, state media report. The Ming family members were sentenced in September for various crimes including homicide, illegal detention, fraud and operating gambling dens by a court in China's Zhejiang province. The Ming scam empire came crashing down in 2023 when they were detained and handed over to China by ethnic militias that had taken control of Laokai during an escalation in their conflict with Myanmar's army. Hundreds of thousands of people have been trafficked to run online scams in Myanmar and elsewhere in Southeast Asia, according to estimates by the UN. 5 English clubs finished in the top 8 of the Champions League group stage on the final night, highlighting the Premier League's continued strength in Europe. Arsenal, Liverpool, Tottenham Hotspur, Manchester City and Chelsea all secured automatic qualification for the round of 16, avoiding the playoffs. Key results on the final night included Arsenal defeating Kairat 3-2, Tottenham beating Eintracht Frankfurt 2-0, Liverpool thrashing Karabakh 6-0, Manchester City winning 2-0 against Galatasaray and Chelsea edging Napoli 3-2. Meanwhile, traditional European heavyweights Real Madrid and Paris Saint-Germain failed to reach the top 8, marking another season where English clubs dominate the Champions League group stage. Nepal is witnessing a worrying brain drain as doctors leave the country amid tough licensing exams, low pay and limited career growth, raising serious concerns for the public health system. New figures show a sharp rise in doctors seeking foreign certification, even as experts warn this could deepen the strain on already fragile healthcare services. At the same time, health authorities have issued a fresh alert over the potential risk of the deadly Nipah virus, with surveillance stepped up nationwide. We bring more on this in our issue of the day. You're watching NTV World and this is the News Hour. Now we're turning to our issue of the day. Nepal is facing a growing exodus of medical professionals as poor licensing exam outcomes, low pay and limited career prospects push to seek opportunities abroad. New data from the Nepal Medical Council show a sharp rise in foreign certification requests, with more than 2,600 doctors obtaining good standing certificates in the last fiscal year alone. Health experts warn the trend could strain Nepal's already fragile public healthcare system. Sabika Shrestha brings an in-depth coverage on this.
Brain drain has found a new form in Nepal, with medical personnel, especially doctors and nurses, flying abroad for employment. Fresh data released by Nepal Medical Council (NMC) indicates a sharp rise in the outmigration of Nepali medical professionals, particularly doctors and nurses. Experts say disappointing licensing examination results and long-standing workplace challenges continue to pose health workers. The concern follows the publication of results from the 74th NMC licensing examination, where only 39.45% of candidates passed the computer-based test for MBBS and BDS registration. Of the 943 candidates who took the examination, just 372 succeeded. The MBBS stream recorded a pass rate of 38.7%, while 42.85% of dental candidates cleared the exam.
यहाँभन्दा बढी सेवा सुविधा र यहाँभन्दा बढी सामाजिक सुरक्षा पाइसकेपछि चिकित्सक मात्रै होइन, सबै चाहिँ भन्नाले त्यसैको बना खोजीमा बाहिर जान्छ। त्यसै क्रममा चिकित्सकहरू पनि गइरहनु भएको छ। तर त्यसमा जो भर्खर ग्रेजुएट हुनुभएको हुन्छ, ग्रेजुएट भएको लगभग 5-7 वर्षमा म्याक्सिमम चाहिँ भन्नाले विदेश जाने, विदेश पलायन हुने वा चाहिँ भन्नाले माइग्रेसन हुने सम्भावना चाहिँ बढी छ।
But the overall results have nonetheless intensified debate over the quality of medical education and the future prospects of young health professionals in Nepal. Alongside licensing challenges, Nepal Medical Council data on the issuance of certificates of good standing, a mandatory document for foreign employment, higher education, or professional training, clearly shows a steady increase in the migration of medical professionals. Over the past 6 fiscal years, the number of certificates issued has more than doubled, rising from 1,087 in 2020 to a record of 2,681 in 2025. Council officials estimate that more than 70% of certificate holders eventually move abroad on a long-term basis.
People who are graduated in medicine or nursing or even the health professionals, they have very little opportunity to provide services in the country. That's why to source the opportunity, this is a very usual thing to look for the further development of their own career, for the further study and to get the job international also. That's why the service is required very much in Nepal. The people are not getting service. The production of the human resources are almost enough to provide the services. So the government sectors, non-government sectors and other sectors also, they have to create the post to provide services.
According to the NMC records, the United Kingdom remains the leading destination for Nepali doctors, while more than 500 certificates issued for the UK in recent years. The United States has also seen a sharp surge, peaking at 843 certificates in 2023. Health sector officials say the trend reflects deep-rooted dissatisfaction within the domestic healthcare system. Young doctors echo similar concerns, citing low pay, delayed salaries, and lack of workplace security.
हामीले रात दिन अहोरात्र खटेर हामीले बिरामीको सेवाहरू गर्छौं। अब त्यही अनुसारको हामीलाई प्रोत्साहन स्वरूप दिएको पारिश्रमिकहरूले चाहिँ हाम्रो जीविकोपार्जन नै गर्दैन। अब फीकै कुरा गर्ने हो भने एमबीबीएस मा 40 देखि 45 लाख खर्च गरेर हामी पढ्न आउँछौं। अब 5.5 वर्ष खर्च हाम्रो लाइफको खर्च गरिसकेपछि हामीलाई दिने पारिश्रमिक भनेको अब केउकै कुरा गर्ने हो भने 10 देखि 12 हजार छ। अब त्यो स्यालेरीले हाम्रो जीवनको जीविकोपार्जन नै गर्न सक्दैन। अब उमेर अनुसार आउने हाम्रो पारिवारिक जिम्मेवारी पनि हुन्छ। अब त्यसकारणले गर्दा कस्तो अवस्था आइसकेको छ भने चाहिँ हाम्रो मानसिक स्वास्थ्यमै असर पर्छ कि जस्तो पनि कुरा आइसकेको अवस्था चाहिँ त्यस्तो छ।
The continued outflow of trained doctors and nurses poses serious long-term risk to Nepal's public health system, particularly in public hospitals and rural areas. Sabika Shrestha with camera person Samir Thapa reporting for NTV World.
Earlier, we spoke to Dr. Satish Kumar Dev, spokesperson of the Nepal Medical Council, to gain insight about the actual cause behind the exodus of Nepal's medical professionals in recent years. Let's have a look. What is triggering the exodus of medical professionals in recent years?
Obviously, like other professions, low pay, limited career growth, poor working infrastructure, job security are the major reasons for migration of the doctors to abroad. And obviously, even the doctors cannot work up to their competency because of the lack of facility. That may be the one factor for it.
And are the licensing exams becoming too tough, as suggested by recent pass percentage of less than 40%?
No, ma'am, perfectly no. See, you have to understand that medical council conduct examination for 3 times in a year. And if you see the data right, we noted that the fresh candidates were less than 40%, and that there were 39% of the candidates when appeared for the first and third time. The 9% of the candidates have given for more than 20 times examination. The candidates were more than 60% were from abroad. So what I'm trying to figure out is, the standard and the quality of examination is same always, but since the repeaters are increasing day by day, this is causing the increase in number of percentage of failure. But our examination, if you see, like there are 90% of the examination also pass rate out with the 39%, suggesting that if the fresh candidates are more in that time, the passing rate will be much more higher. But then when there are repeaters much there, this causes decrease in the number of passing rate.
Yes, I was coming to that. Despite this, the number of licensed doctors has increased in the last 5 years. Why is the situation deteriorating then?
Obviously, like everybody wanted to look for their better career abroad, and they are going. But at the same time, the health service is more focused to urban communities. So there is an uneven distribution of the doctors in the entire country. That may be one probable cause that the situation is not improved. But we cannot say that situation is deteriorating. Like if you see that there are many eye surgeries and many other things are also done in Nepal only.
So how do you think this will impact Nepal's health sector in the next few years?
See, like in terms of this examination and licensing, if the number keep on increasing because of the cumulative effect, this will have definitely in long term, it will definitely deteriorate the image of the health sector in Nepal. But when we say that there are better opportunities abroad, the doctors will definitely try to go there. So Nepal government to take an appropriate initiative so that the retention of the doctors can be made who have who are competent enough to these things. What I will say is the examination is showing the mirror of health system in Nepal.
Moreover, we spoke to the doctors on reasons behind emigration of Nepal's doctors. Here's what they say.
एउटा त टेक्नोलोजीकै कुरा भयो हैन अनि अर्को भनेको चाहिँ स्यालेरीको हिसाबले पनि बाहिर नै धेरै राम्रो छ नेपालको करेन्सीहरुमा भन्दा त्यही कारणले पनि हो
जहाँ आफूलाई सेक्युरिटी मान्छेले सेक्युर फिल हुन्छ त्यहीनेरि नै बस्ने हो जो चाहिँ खासमा तपाईको डक्टर शिफ्ट भन्दा नि सेक्युरिटीले गर्दाखेरि त जतातिर सेक्युरिटी बढी छ मान्छे त्यतितिर सेफ फिल भएको ठाउँमा मात्र गएको जस्तो लाग्छ मलाई
because due to the most of the chances so that we are getting abroad outside lack of the opportunities in Nepal and so we're getting a lot of opportunities outside Nepal so first point is that and after that more salary increment more respected and the health workers should get more and lot of the opportunities outside so that would be the reason
दास प्रथा हामी चाहन्नौ हामीलाई आफू एकदमै लोयल छौं हामी गर्न खोज्छौं भने हामीले आफ्नो जे प्रोफेसन कमाएको छौं त्यो प्रोफेसनले मलाई आफै जब दियो जस्तो लाग्छ तर हाम्रो यहाँ के भइराछन् भने हामी दास प्रथा जस्तै कि हामी एज अ स्किल्ड फुल पर्सन एज अ दास जस्तो भयो कि त्यो चाहिँ कसैले मन रुचाउँदैन सो मान्छे अब्रोड जान्छ राम्रो अपर्च्युनिटी पनि छ राम्रो केयर पनि गर्छ र दास जस्तो मानिदैन
पहिलो रिजन चाहिँ के भन्दा फेरि पैसाकै भनौं न जुन स्यालेरी जुन छ नि जस्तो अब हाम्रो त मेडिकल प्रोफेसनमा हामीले पढ्दा फेरि हाम्रो फर्स्ट इयर देखि फाइनल इयर सम्म चाहिँ तपाईको खर्च पनि एकदम राम्रो महँगो हुने अनि त्यसपछि अनि एक्सपेक्टेड स्यालेरी जुन एक्सपेक्टेड स्यालेरी छ त्यो भन्दा एकदम कम हुने अर्को चाहिँ दोस्रोमा चाहिँ के छ भन्दा फेरि सेक्युरिटी हैन जुन सेक्युरिटी छ नि डाक्टरलाई त्यो पनि छैन के यहाँ चाहिँ के हुन्छ भन्दा फेरि जस्तो सानो कुरामा पनि पेशेन्ट पार्टीहरुले कुरा बुझ्दैन अनि हातपात गर्दिने हैन अब हाम्रो नेपाल मेडिकल कलेजमै पनि 3-4 वर्ष अगाडि त्यस्तो इस्यु भएको थियो हैन एकदम नबुझ्दिने अनि त्यसपछि हातपात गर्दिने जुन एउटा सेक्युरिटी छ सरकारले पनि भन्न त भन्छ हामी कारबाही गर्छौं त्यस्तो गर्ने मान्छेलाई त्यो जुन पोलिसिजहरु बन्न त बनाएको छ तर त्यो पोलिसीको चाहिँ तपाईको लागू भएको छैन भनौं न
The medical professional is a very difficult job and in Nepal there are very limited resources around and the people are not enough economically backed up to get the requirement treatment and for that they will have to spend more and while spending more the doctors here in Nepal they have to work to compensate that and while compensating that they are not getting enough salary plus the society that we live in the people think doctors are gods and they sometimes we also make mistakes sometimes there are miscommunications sometimes we cannot communicate enough with the patient party due to which there can be error which might not be known to the other non-professional people due to which there will be communication gap and there is no security and they will attack us and there is violence towards the doctor who are serving the people
एउटा त हाम्रो सेक्युरिटी पर्पस पनि हो नेपालमा अलिक डाक्टरहरु अहिले सेक्युर छैनन् अनि त्यसपछि यहाँ काम गरे अनुसारको खटे अनुसारको स्यालेरी पनि छैन मलाई त्यस्तो लाग्छ
जति हामी त्यो मेहनत गरेर पढेको हुन्छौं जति ट्राई गरेको हुन्छ नि त्यो कम्प्लिट गर्नलाई हाम्रो कोर्सहरु त्यो अनुसार चाहिँ त्यो अपर्च्युनिटीज अनि त्यो स्यालेरी नै भनौं न त्यो पनि छैन एन्ड for better opportunities अनि better education को लागि नै I think we doctorsहरु चाहिँ हामी सबैजना बाहिर नै ट्राई गर्ने अहिले चाहिँ सोच छ हाम्रो चाहिँ
At a time when medical professionals increasingly choose greener pastures abroad, Nepal faces Nipah virus threat. Nipah virus causes severe respiratory illness and inflammation of the brain, and outbreaks have a high fatality rate. In this connection, we spoke to Dr. Prakash Burathoki, spokesperson at the Ministry of Health and Population, on the efforts being made to contain the spread of Nipah virus.
हजुर लगभग 2 हप्ता पहिले हाम्रो छिमेकी मुलुक भारतको पश्चिम बङ्गालमा चाहिँ स्वास्थ्यकर्मी नै संक्रमित भइसकेपछि र त्यसको चाहिँ पछिल्लो समय 2 जना पुष्टि भइसकेपछि हामीहरूको चाहिँ खुला नाकाको कारणले गर्दा हामी तत्कालै अलर्टमा बस्यौं र त्यही अनुसार चाहिँ हाम्रा सीमा नाकामा भएका हेल्थ डेस्कहरूलाई ओरिएन्टेसन गर्ने र उनीहरूलाई त्यस नाकाबाट आउटजात गर्नेलाई शंकास्पद लक्षण छन् भने निगरानीमा राख्ने काम चाहिँ हामीले चाहिँ सुरु गरिरहेका छौं। त्यसैगरी हामीसँग अस्पतालहरुमा पनि कुनै कारणवश शंकास्पद त्यस्ता लक्षणहरू आए भने ती उनीहरूलाई चाहिँ ट्रिटमेन्टको व्यवस्था गर्न र आवश्यक सरसामानको व्यवस्था गर्न पनि निर्देशन दिइसकेका छौं र आइसोलेसनको जरुरत पर्ने भावनाले कोभिडमा प्रयोग गरेका जुन अस्पताल थिए उनीहरूलाई चाहिँ आइसोलेसन बेडको लागि पनि त्यही अनुसार तयारी गर्नुस् भनेर भनिसकेका छौं र निदानको लागि पनि हामी कहाँ देशभरि भएका चाहिँ प्रयोगशालाहरू र राष्ट्रिय जनस्वास्थ्य प्रयोगशाला मार्फत निदानका लागि चाहिँ त्यसका लागि चाहिने किट त्यसको लागि चाहिँ डेलिभरीको लागि चाहिँ बनाले प्रयोग गर्नुपर्ने चाहिँ सरसामानहरू र कनेक्सन त्यो सबै चाहिँ बनाले पूरा गर्नुस् भनेका छौं र उहाँहरूले पनि गर्नु भएको छ।
And that winds up our issue of the day. On to our next segment now. As election fever rises, so do the prices on household shelves, leaving consumers to wonder if this is inflation by chance or exploitation by design. Despite claims of daily monitoring and fines, the cost of living continues to climb, tightening the squeeze on ordinary citizens. In the race to the ballot box, it seems it's consumer who is paying the highest price. Let's delve more in our cover story of the day. Now we're turning to our cover story. Whether it is a festival or an election, Nepali consumers have been hit by inflation due to multiple reasons. According to traders, the prices of daily essentials have skyrocketed by 10% in a week as the election atmosphere intensifies in the country. Vijeta Pandari along with Pawan Barsha Shah brings more.
The price of daily essentials has increased by 5 to 10% in local market of federal capital Kathmandu. Consumers are questioning whether this price hike is just a coincidence or an occasion for traders to exploit the election environment. As the election approaches, the old pattern of price hikes in the market is repeated. Consumers have started expressing their anger, saying that the traders will increase the price when the elections come and the people will have to bear the consequences.
किचनको सामान पनि त्यहीबाट गर्नुपर्छ भाडा त्यहीबाट तिर्नुपर्छ म्याम अनि त्यसो गर्दा त हामीलाई त धेरै अवसर छ नि पुराउन टार्न धेरै गाह्रो छ.
Retailers, however, argue that they sell their goods at a profit of only 10% after adding up all their expenses when wholesale prices rise. Traders say the increase in prices also affects the retailers.
हिजो अस्तिको तुलनामा त तपाईको झन्डै तेल चाहिने भनेपछि 175 देखि 200-225 सम्म छ मार्केटमा.
सानो पसलेलाई चाहिँ होलसेलले जसरी पठाउँछ हामीले बेच्ने चाहिँ सधैँकै मार्जिन राख्ने हो त्यतिमै बेच्ने हो. बढाएर पठायो भने हामीले पनि बढाएरै बेच्ने हो.
According to traders, the prices of oil, pulses, rice, legumes and vegetables have been increasing in the market for the past 1 week. As usual, it remains to be seen whether the price hike that started before the election will stop after the election or whether the consumers will continue to bear the brunt of the price hike.
As consumers remain confused whether the price hike on the eve of HOR election scheduled for March 5 is orchestrated, serious question has been raised over market monitoring. Consumers blamed government's lax in monitoring for the market inflation. A report.
The government says it is monitoring the market almost every day, claiming that action has been taken against price control, sale of goods haphazardly, and black marketing. According to the Department of Commerce, Supplies and Consumer Protection, more than 350 companies and firms have been fined more than 15 million rupees in the first 6 months of the current fiscal year. However, the prices of daily essentials such as pulses, rice, cooking oil, vegetables, and legumes are increasing day by day. Consumer rights activists also allege that consumers have always suffered due to syndicates and government agencies not paying attention to controlling the price rise. However, the government agency has received complaints of increase in the prices of edible oil and vegetables in the recent period, and the department has focused monitoring on this.
तेलमा क्राइसिस ल्याउने त्यसपछि खाद्यान्न बढ्ने त्यो भयो भने भोलि हामीले अझ चाहिँ अनुमानलाई अझ अलि निर्भर गराउनु पर्ने स्थिति हुन सक्छ.
Despite the fall in the price of petroleum products in the international market, the price of petroleum products has not stopped increasing in Nepal due to the transportation cost and other pretexts. As a result, consumers are bearing the burden of price rise. Not only that, there is a tendency to create artificial shortage, sell expired goods, and fix prices arbitrarily. Consumers have been saying that the government, which is active only during the festive season, is silent at other times, which has further encouraged the price hike and black marketeering.
With that, we wrap up our cover story. Now the remaining updates. Government of Nepal has approved the schedule of President Ramchandra Paudil's Japan visit from February 1 to 4. Home Minister and Government spokesperson Om Prakash Aryal added the cabinet also decided to increase Nepal Police's ration scale and daily amount of ration effective from February 13.
यो चाहिँ नेपाल र जापान बीचको कूटनीतिक सम्बन्ध स्थापना भएको 70औं वर्षगाँठको उपलक्ष्यमा 2082 साल माघ 18 देखि 21 गतेसम्म जापानमा आयोजना हुने कार्यक्रममा सहभागी हुन सम्माननीय राष्ट्रपति श्री रामचन्द्र पौडेलज्यूको नेतृत्वको प्रतिनिधि मण्डललाई स्वीकृति दिने निर्णय गरियो. नेपाल स्टक एक्सचेन्ज लिमिटेडको पुनर्संरचना सम्बन्धी सुझाव समिति 2082 ले पेश गरेको प्रतिवेदन सार्वजनिक गर्ने निर्णय गरियो. मिति 2082 11/1 देखि लागू हुने गरी नेपाल प्रहरीको राशन स्केल र राशन बापतको दैनिक रकम वृद्धि गर्ने निर्णय गरियो.
Heavy snowfall across several districts of Nepal has disrupted daily life and travel, affecting both residents and visitors. In Humla, in the country's remote northwest, 2 days of snowfall have blocked roads to villages including Namkha, and flights from Nepalganj and Surkhet to the district headquarters, Simkot, were cancelled. The famed Muktinath temple in Mostang has become largely deserted, with devotees forced to ride horses to navigate the snow-covered trails. In Dolkha, snow-blanketed high-altitude areas such as Kalenchok and Shailung sparking excitement among local hoteliers, however raising concerns among farmers about potential crop damage. Meanwhile, in Doreldura in western Nepal, the first winter snowfall and rain of the season brought relief to farmers after a prolonged drought, replenishing winter crops and local water supplies. Authorities across affected regions are working to clear roads and assist stranded travelers, highlighting the challenges of heavy winter weather in Nepal's mountainous terrain. Tiger counting has begun from today in the third block of Nepal's Chitwan and Parsa national parks after the counting was completed in 2 blocks. Nepal's Department of National Parks and Wildlife Conservation informed that tigers are being counted in Chitwan Parsa by dividing the area into 3 blocks. The work for installing automatic cameras at various locations for the third block of Chitwan Parsa has progressed, and the camera installation work will continue until Saturday. It is learned after installing the camera, the tiger's movement will be monitored for 15 days and nights. Based on the tiger's activities recorded on the camera, the number of tigers will be determined. Tiger census is conducted every 4 years, and the number is determined by looking at photographs of the tigers and identifying their unique stripes. According to the tiger census conducted in 2022, there were 355 tigers in Nepal. Among them, 128 tigers were found in Chitwan National Park and 41 in Porsa National Park. In a major move towards modernization, the Department of Postal Services has launched the Smart Post initiative to enhance efficiency and transparency. As part of this digital transformation, postal service employees in Bhaktapur have undergone specialized training in the new internal tracking system. Subeksha Rajak with our local correspondent Anjir Singh BK sheds light on the initiative.
The hustle and bustle at the Bhaktapur District Post Office now has a digital heartbeat. As part of a nationwide effort to modernize the postal system, the department has intensified its digital transformation. All employees in the district recently completed intensive training on the internal tracking system known as AITS. This technology allows staff to monitor the movement of mail in real time, shifting from manual ledgers to an integrated digital database. For the employees, the tradition is a game changer, making their daily operations more organized and less prone to error.
हातले लेखेर काम गर्थ्यौं के पहिला अब अहिले चाहिँ जस यो तालिम म्याडमले ल्याएपछि हामी एकदम खुसी भएको छौं
10 वर्ष काम गर्दा पनि हामीले थाहा नपाएको धेरै कुराहरू थाहा पाउने मौका मिलाइदिनु भएको धन्यवाद दिन चाहन्छु.
The training saw enthusiast participation from a diverse workforce, ranging from the tech-savvy Gen Z generation to veterans as old as 57. According to Sita Samba, the chief of the district post office, the training focused on online reporting and mobile-based tracking. Postmen known as Halkaras and additional postal staff are now equipped to update delivery statuses directly through their smartphones.
पब्लिकको चाहिँ जिज्ञासाहरूलाई चाहिँ सम्बोधन पनि यही पीड्स मार्फतै हुने गरी हाम्रो अहिले चाहिँ आन्तरिक ट्र्याकिङ सिस्टम भन्ने सफ्टवेयर सञ्चालन छ.
The numbers reflect the scale of the operation. The office recently reported the successful handling and delivery of nearly 150,000 items, including registered letters, periodicals, and EMS packages.
नेपाल हुलाकको संयन्त्र संसारसँग जोडिया छ. अहिले हेर्यो भने चाहिँ हामी 71 देशका 92 गन्तव्यमा सिधै जोडिया छौं. त्यहाँसम्म हामी EMS बाट पार्सलबाट विभिन्न रुटबाट जोडिएका छौं. अझै धेरै सबै देशसँग जोडिन पनि चाहेका छौं.
Despite the technological leap, challenges remain. Director General Pangeni noted that a significant shortage of human resource continues to hinder the full-scale rollout. However, with capacity-building programs like the one in Bhaktapur, the department is confident that the era of smart post has officially arrived.
Special updates coming up next, but before that, a quick look at the headlines once again. Nepal's Election Commission to use local materials for March 5 elections. More than 60% of polling stations in Madhesh termed highly sensitive. Nepal battles alarming exodus of medical professionals, lower success rate in licensing exams and limited opportunities blamed. Nepal's health ministry issues warning over Nipah virus. Outbreak in neighbouring India prompts border surveillance. Nepali households struggle as prices of essentials surge ahead of elections, market monopoly and laxant government monitoring cited. China executes 11 members of mafia family running scam centers in Myanmar, convicted on homicide, fraud, illegal detention and gambling. And 5 English clubs finish in top 8 of Champions League in a dramatic final night. Bayern, Barcelona and Sporting CP also secure their berths. The European Union has warned that intensified Russian strikes are pushing Ukraine towards a humanitarian catastrophe as winter conditions and infrastructure damage deepen civilian hardship. EU Foreign Policy Chief Kazakala said Moscow's campaign of bombardments appears aimed at forcing Ukrainians into submission as diplomatic efforts to end the conflict continue.
They are bombing Ukrainians, trying to bomb and freeze them to surrender. And that's why we are also discussing the energy support that we can give them because it's very hard winter and Ukrainians are really suffering. There's a humanitarian catastrophe coming there.
Russian President Vladimir Putin welcomed his Emirati counterpart Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan to Moscow ahead of a second round of talks on the Ukraine war in Abu Dhabi. During the meeting, Putin praised the United Arab Emirates for its role in the Ukrainian crisis, including facilitating prisoner exchanges and assisting in arranging diplomatic contacts. The leaders discussed ongoing efforts to de-escalate tensions in Ukraine and explore avenues for dialogue. The visit also signals Moscow's willingness to engage with Gulf countries on diplomatic initiatives related to the war. Chinese President Xi Jinping met with visiting British Prime Minister Keir Starmer in Beijing, during which the two sides agreed to develop a long-term and stable comprehensive strategic partnership. Starmer arrived in the Chinese capital on Wednesday to begin a 4-day official visit to China, the first by a British Prime Minister in 8 years. Starmer also said the UK is committed to maintaining high-level exchanges with China, enhancing close dialogue and communication, and strengthening cooperation across various fields including trade, investment, finance and environmental protection, so as to bolster mutual economic growth and bring benefits to the people of both nations.
And we made some really good progress on tariffs for whisky, on visa-free travel to China, and on information exchange and cooperation on irregular migration, focusing particularly on small boats and engine parts. So a very good constructive meeting with real outcomes, and that's very much in our national interest.
Updates from Business Arena at the other side after the short break.
Israel's parliament has approved the 2026 state budget in its first reading, avoiding an automatic dissolution of parliament and early elections. The parliament's decision gave Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu a short-term political reprieve. Under Israeli law, the full budget must be passed by March 31, or the Knesset will automatically dissolve and early elections will be triggered. Lawmakers voted 62 in favor and 55 against. The 2026 budget proposal, roughly 662 billion shekels, around $215 billion, now moves to committee for further revision and 2 more readings. The vote comes amid tensions within Netanyahu's coalition, especially over disputes with ultra-Orthodox parties. British pharmaceutical group AstraZeneca says it will invest $15 billion in China by 2030, expanding medicines manufacturing and research operations. The announcement was made during a visit to Beijing by UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, accompanied by a delegation of business leaders including AstraZeneca Chief Executive Pascal Soriot.
To announce that AstraZeneca is going to invest 100 billion Chinese yuan, about $15 billion until 2030 in R&D and manufacturing in particular. And this will support Healthy China 2030 and pioneer the next generation of innovative medicine. And this will be, as a company, our biggest investment yet.
China is AstraZeneca's second largest market after the United States. The move comes even as a drug maker increases investment in the US, where it plans to expand $50 billion by 2030, amid ongoing pressure from Washington to shift pharmaceutical production domestically.
Microsoft reported stronger than expected results for the October to December quarter, driven by growth in its artificial intelligence and cloud businesses. Revenue rose 17% from a year earlier to $81.3 billion, while net profit came in at nearly $31 billion, beating Wall Street forecasts. Cloud revenue tied to AI climbed 29% to $32.9 billion, also above expectations. However, Microsoft shares fell nearly 5% in after-hours trading as investors focused on the company's heavy spending on data centers and AI infrastructure.
Now the sports update. Nepal's new road team NRT defeated Sankota 3-1 to secure their fourth consecutive victory in the ongoing National League football. Kritish Ratna Chinchu and Timothy Okereke each scored one goal for NRT, while the third came from an own goal by Wenpang in the match held at Anfa Complex in Lalitpur, Satapato. Sankota's Krishna Bahadur scored a consolation goal. NRT has collected 12 points from 5 matches so far. Serena Williams has refused to rule out returning to professional tennis after recently filing the necessary paperwork. Williams, who won 23 Grand Slam singles titles, retired after the 2022 US Open. In December, the International Tennis Integrity Agency confirmed that the 44-year-old was back on the list of players registered for the drug testing pool. Players, meanwhile, are only eligible to return to competitions once they have spent 6 months in the testing pool. In Turkey's Eastern Kars province, children are receiving professional ski training through the Future Olympic Athletes project. The training sessions are held at the Sarıkamış Osman Youth Ski Center and are attended by 40 children between the ages of 8 and 15. The daily training program begins with warm-up exercises, followed by slalom gate training on the ski slopes. The children receive 4 hours of training each day under the supervision of professional coaches. Officials state that the project aims to discover talented children at an early age and prepare them for national and international competitions, contributing to the future of Turkish winter sports. Time for weather updates, and now first from Nepal and then across the world. We're almost at the end of the bulletin, but before we wrap up, let's have a look at the top stories that have made it to our headlines this hour. Nepal's election commission to use local materials for March 5 elections, more than 60% of polling stations in Madhesh termed highly sensitive. Nepal battles alarming exodus of medical professionals, lower success rate in licensing exams and limited opportunities blamed. Nepal's health ministry issues warning over Nipah virus outbreak in neighbouring India, prompts border surveillance. Nepali households struggle as prices of essentials surge ahead of elections, market monopoly and lax in government monitoring cited. China executes 11 members of mafia family running scam centres in Myanmar, convicted on homicide, fraud, illegal detention and gambling. And 5 English clubs finish in top 8 of Champions League in a dramatic final night. Bayern, Barcelona and Sporting CP also secure their berths. And that's it for this edition of NTV World News Hour. Do join us through our social media and get the latest updates from our official website, nepaltelevision.com. I'm Smita Gising Tamang. Thank you for staying with us. Good night.
What is the power of music that political narratives don't?
The real music comes between the notes. It's the silence. I don't think you can change the country. It's not a. I think it's good to start with your own home. You know, your own room. Can you do some changes in your own room? So I'm working in my own room.
Fixing your internet.
So you can play the same note. For example, just give you a little bit of an example, Sudan, of this. Sounds very Nepali.
Right.
And it could be on the mountain. But if I say...
That's the signature
that's,
Manoj Newana. Let's talk about the Grammy moment. What was it like?
Oh my God. Well, you know, it was 2020. It was blessings. I've been very blessed to also to collaborate with some Westerner musicians, and one of them was Deva Pramal and Miten. They were, you know, Miten and Deva. They were very inspired by Eastern philosophy. Also, actually, they were very inspired by Osho's world, and through that they got to learn a lot about the mantras and the beauty of what our music can bring to the people. And I went to Los Angeles to be there with 10,000 people in the Staple Arena. It was amazing. I wore a Nepali dress and put instead of kukri, I put my bansuri. Wow. It was proudly. I felt like, oh, great.